stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Criminality. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to Criminality. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Delphi with my special guest, Luke. Hi, Luke.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a huge bar of chocolate here in your honor. It's very nice. It's not a Snickers though, and I'm not in a Tesla.
And you're not in a Tesla? Well, you know, you got to get a Snickers. Somebody send Luke a Snickers stat. He needs that. He needs a Snickers now.
I think DB has a good collection of Snickers, right?
He does. I bet he drives a Tesla.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
All right, let me say hi to everybody in chat real quick, and then we'll get started talking about Delphi. So, I my Delphi peeps, I miss you guys because we don't talk Delphi, on the daily as we were, because right now we're covering Karen Reed, which is a whole nother nightmare in itself. Hi, Mother of Dragons. What's up, Jamie? Hi, Post Punk Mama. What's up, woman? OMG, Tor in chat. Hi, Mar Sleuthy. What's up, Sleuthy? Hi, Kyra. Hi, Christy. Did I say hi to Christy? Hi, Cat Reflex. Oh my gosh, this is my first time catching the first part of your live. I always get in at the end. Well, welcome to the beginning of the show. What's up, Streets? Hi, Torsel. Did Luke bring enough for the class? Did you bring enough chocolate to share? I think he's trying to get you guys to raid DB's stash.
If you're good, I'll bring some next time.
There you go.
I think that's the best I can do.
It depends on how you act in chat then. If you misbehave, no chocolate for you. Hi, Thomas. Hey, Candy.
LegalAndJustice.com. As many times as you can, and you get more chocolate.
So what I'm hearing you say then, Luke, is that you're tracking our click rate?
Yeah. Well, if you believe the internet, I'm doing a whole lot of work spying on the traffic, and I'm putting bugs into everybody's computers.
Great. We don't have enough
Well,
bugs.
if you also believe the internet, I'm actually AI, so...
Well, that's kind of cool. It's because of your voice. I already said earlier, I said on the Karen Reed live when I asked you to come on that I'm going to start talking like you by the end of the live. You just watch.
I know.
I'm going to have it down. I'm going to have it down, Pat. What's up, Unindicted? Hi, Laura. Hi, Between Law and Laughs. What's up, Frida Bird? Hey, Lindsay. Hi, Anna. Let me see. Where's Fiend? I see Fiend's here. Hey, Kelt. Hi, Lacey. All right, let me go back down here and see who's down here. Oh, I see Ange. Ange says he drives a practical champagne-colored Nissan sedan, actually.
That's DB. DB totally has access to Ange's account.
That's hilarious. Hi, Kat. Hey, Baby Bill. What's up, grilled cheese? Hi, Travis. Let me see. Hi, Grendel. Let me see. Hi, Tammy. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of you guys. What's up, Deb? Hammy. All right. Sorcerer Tree. Oh, look at all these beautiful people. What's up, All Eyes? How are you feeling, All Eyes? If you want to come up, I'll send you the link. So I was going to send it to you before we started, and I didn't. I didn't know how you were feeling anyway. Okay. So where should we start, Luke? Should we start with exhibits, or should we talk about your life as of late? Should we talk about the video that Ange just put out? I was going to show that too.
Yeah, that was super interesting, right?
That was a pretty good video. Should we watch it? It's only like a minute.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. I want to see what you guys in chat have to say, since Ange like played this as like a premiere and then like bounced on us. I was like, what? Like, where's the rest? Where's the rest? I need more conversation. I need more talkie. All right, let's see. All right, you guys ready? If you guys did, it's a minute, so make sure you guys go over there and hit the like button and watch it over and over, because I found it very interesting. We haven't had a chance to really talk about it yet because, like I said, she just did it like 40 minutes ago. But let's just see if you guys see what I think I see. You guys hear it okay?
Special Agent Richard E. Davies. We are going to cycle 5 rounds of Winchester law enforcement ammunition through a 6-hour pistol. Got a dude safe down here in a corner. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just for comparison's sake, I will do one of the rounds 3 times. There we go. Okay. All right. Ready?
Let me know when dude, we might have to do it again.
Play back. Can you play back?
So what did you guys think? I could play it again because, like I said, it's super quick, but I just wanted to know what you guys see, what you guys think, what you guys hear. What are your thoughts on it?
We are gonna.
One, my favorite is the making fun of all the quotes from Lieutenant Jerry Holman, but that's neither here nor there. Who do you think it was odd?
I like the Donnie Brasco kind of look. I mean, aesthetically speaking.
I do like that. I was like, okay, I'm liking this, and then the little record thing up in the corner on one part. I was like, ooh, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, the editing is pretty top notch, I have to say. The science doesn't lie.
I mean, I don't know. It depends.
Depends on which way it goes. Which way the answer is. Play it again. Okay, I'll play it again. The scientist lies.
Special Agent Richard E. Davies. We are going to cycle 5 rounds of Winchester law enforcement ammunition through a 6-hour pistol. Got a dude safe down here in a corner. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just for comparison's sake, I will do one of the rounds 3 times. There we go. Okay. All right. Ready?
Let me know when dude, we might have to do it again.
Play back. Can you play back?
Okay, so I have so many questions. If you want to come up, let me know. I will drop you a link anytime. But I have questions. Is this a food plate? Like, what is going on here with this? What's going on with this plate?
Plate.
Is this supposed to be the ammunition?
Right, yeah. Right. What, and the carpet? Like, come on.
Well, like, I'm wondering, is this actually like food?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is this all like, okay, Ange, you want to come up? I know this is your video, so I'm just very curious about Rich Davies here. And so they're using law enforcement's Winchester rounds to cycle through. I'm in hiding, but I can come.
Okay, so I'll explain a little bit. I know what this is. That is that SIG P226 is Brad Weber's. That is the test that ISP did to check to get comparison rounds for Melissa Oberg, I guess, and that's the level of professionalism that they employed to get these rounds.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm picking up what you're putting down here, Luke. You're telling me that Rich Davies took Winchester rounds from law enforcement to test Brad Weber's gun, so he ejected 5 rounds in this room where there's food and drops them on the carpet?
Yeah. And, I'm going to say thank you to whoever blew the whistle and leaked this piece of information. I think it's important.
Well, holy shit. So this is the level of law enforcement and how they test their evidence and what they do with it. They're just that is a food plate just sitting there just eating lunch, and they're just like, I'm gonna just drop a few rounds real quick and see what happens.
Yeah, like I like snacks as well, but I generally don't have Cheetos on my desk next to my computers. I don't play with guns, so I don't know, but I wouldn't be doing that.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be doing it in the lab.
Hi, guys.
Fish. Hi,
Hey,
Sleuthie. Holy shit, Sleuthie. I'm about to lose my mind.
I'm pretty sure they have, I don't know, a designated semi-scientific person that's supposed to be doing these tests. Not some cop in the break room behind a door.
A science person.
Where people are walking around.
If you want.
They're walking around in the woods, and they're I tell my kid all the time, when he comes in, he takes his shoes off. I make him take his shoes off because I don't know if you stepped in dog shit earlier or what you picked up on the bottom of your shoes, and I don't want it all sometimes. But they're ejecting bullets from wherever they got them into the shitty Berber rug in the break room.
Just holy shit. So, okay, so then I guess I need clarification. In this is just regular old video of him walking around. This has nothing to do with the case, or is this something to do with the case that was actually recorded at the time?
I'm not sure. Angela will have to answer that question.
I believe it's unrelated footage.
I think so too. Okay, so that was, I guess, my question, because I was thinking, how much of this is stock? How much of this is are we looking at real shit? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's him,
right?
But not from them. Not.
Oh no, that's Mullen, right in the background.
Yeah, they're not carrying out. Yeah.
But I didn't know if this is something that goes along with this part, or if this is something from a news channel. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. It looks kind of newsy to me.
Yeah, I was thinking so too, but just for clarification. So this, what we're saying is this is Brad Weber's gun.
Yes. And it's filthy, frankly. It's in terrible state.
Yeah, it's I can't get a good pause spot on it. Which is weird because it actually looks totally clear when you're playing the video.
1.
Oh, I guess it is kind of
2.
This is, if you guys don't remember, so Brad Weber's gun was not cleared. I'm not looking for the right word because it's not coming to my brain, but it was not
excluded.
It was not excluded. Thank you. So that leaves it's a possible included. It's not excluded.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we're also thinking it's not excluded, but here we have the testing of it, dropping it on the carpet in the next to the goldfish.
Can we just talk about how differently they treated Richard Allen's gun and the bullets from everybody else's?
Well, number one,
yeah.
they didn't include Richard Allen's after just cycling the round through. They had to fire it. So that's just right off the bat.
Well, yeah, that's point one.
Did they
but
ever fire this one? Because they're not firing it in this room. So did they ever fire it to see if it has a better match like they did with Richard Allen's?
I don't think they fired anyone else's guns. Like, if it wasn't included when they compared them, they didn't take the extra step of like, hey, let's try to fire it and see if then we can get a match. Only with Richard Allen's.
Okay, now go ahead. Go with what you were saying. I'm sorry. I interrupted you, Luke.
I was going to say, you know, the way they treated Rick's was that they basically planted a bullet in his, well, yeah. I'm not saying they did that, but they could have done that. I don't see them planting any bullets in Brad Weber's house.
I was not expecting the photo of the round in the keepsake box. Like, it was almost like a parody of what happened. Like, I was not expecting it to look so planted, I guess, or like obvious.
Yeah. Like they're just missing somebody holding it, grinning.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the two pictures don't even have the same items in it. It's like, who even knows? I don't know. It's bizarre.
As Julie's saying in the chat, there's no chain of custody photos of anything in this damn case, but it's especially not with the bullet.
So we got some new exhibits from Max Lewis, who was putting out his with Fox, and I believe this is one of the. Let me see which one's which, because we had two and now we have three, and maybe it was this one. I think this is the one that Max got that we didn't have before. So, hi Fiend.
Hello.
Oh shoot.
Hey, Fiend.
Hi, Fiend.
Can I say a couple takeaways on that bullet real quick? Or
You
that?
sound like you're on a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, hold on, Fiend. You're really, really loud.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Okay. So this is the other one that we got where it's now. So the whole reason I wanted to show you this, so I can I'll bring up the other one too. Is so we have the leaning one, right? We have this leaning one, and then we have this leaning one, and then we have the one over here where it's just sitting straight up and down, where everything else is all messy. But nobody ever tells you that they put the bullet back in here and took a photograph of it. So how do we have any idea whether these photographs are taken prior to or after? Because here's the thing. If you go by the exhibit number, this exhibit right here is 270, and it's got the little bullet. It's got the round over here leaning, and I always kind of go off of this too. Like that's like straight. Now, if you go to 271, 271 is this one where it's now straight up and down. And then 272, it's over here and it's leaning again.
Well, and that picture of all those people are still there. I don't think that I don't think they were put into evidence in the way that they were taken. Like,
that's my whole thing, is that if they would say these photos were taken prior to touching anything in the box. This one, we had to put it back in the box to take another picture to show whatever. So they would be entered separately.
But also, in 2022, cops had body cam, right? Like, I don't know if this was ISP or whatever, the local, but there should be body cam footage of this entire thing.
Oh, I was talking to somebody about this body cam footage and when
I don't know what the policy is for that.
oh, you sound way better, Fiend.
Yeah, much better, Fiend.
Yeah, sorry, I was in my car and probably had my speaker on or something. The one thing about I don't know. I'm a show me person, and that the round that in the keepsake box. I mean, I think it is a little bit notable that they don't have a picture of the head stamp at his house. And
right, yeah.
I look at, there was a Twitter thread with a little bit of beef on it, but a lot of people have put this through AI, and it always comes back 9mm, which is just weird. So, but I guess we take their word for it that it's a 40, like, without seeing that it actually is.
So this is what Max
released. Is that from the scene? Okay.
Yeah, this is supposedly from the scene. Yeah.
No, not the scene.
Not the scene. His house. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
From the box.
Okay, that's better then.
Yeah, but once again, it doesn't make any sense that these photos are taken and then they have the photos. So why take the round out and then put it back in to photograph it some more? Like, that it doesn't make sense. You already photographed it. The only time that they typically will put like evidence back is if like they touch it and they're like, okay, this all needs to be photographed. Like we had an emergent, like a first responder was in, like, but we need to put this back where it was because it was underneath the victim or whatever, and we need to photograph it where it was actually found. But they already photographed it.
Well, I mean, they definitely put a lot of significance on this, and like you could tell from day one when they started releasing documents on the entire search warrant inventory, this is the only single item on the entire inventory that specifies where it's found, and it's very specific to where it's found. No other item it says where it's found except for, like, I don't know, 10 to 20% of them or whatever, and a dozen items that were found in garage. No other item found in bedroom or closet or kitchen, anywhere. They don't say where anything is
found hanging in closet on left hand side or whatever.
No, I mean, but they don't even say bedroom. They don't say anything. They just jacket, sweatshirt, and then you've got keepsake box, in closet, between drawer, like between or on dresser, between closets. Like, it's very, very specific. Inside the box, not a single other item notes where it's found. So I do think that they assigned a big red flag on this from the very, very, very beginning.
So ISP had body cameras at the time. Carroll County did not. But we know that Holman is at the house on the 13th. Does Holman not have to wear a body cam? Is there something about he was a sergeant at the time? Is he not required to wear a body cam?
He would look terrible in a body cam, to be honest.
They don't have that fits him.
No. Imagine it hanging off his his chest.
It would look like a little dot right there on his chest.
Well, he forgot to hit the button to turn it on because he was holding a ham sandwich.
That might be true. But in reality, does he not? Is there a requirement where he would not have to wear one? Is there only specific positions that would have to wear one?
I think if you're uniformed, you have to wear them, right? In forces where you have to wear them, then it's for uniforms.
Only uniformed officers wore body cam. Okay. So would Jerry Holman in 2023, 2024 be required to wear one? Does that change after 2022, DB? Then I'm just wondering, so is he ever required to wear one? Ever? Do I have the video of LE re-securing the scene? I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
I think that refers to like a news clip.
is the only thing I remember about when they were re-securing the scene was when the one person did the interview that stated she was out there and she saw the cops out there with the metal detectors.
Well, speaking of resecuring the scene, so back to that that R&M trailer. I mean, I think it's pretty significant that they're testing specifically law enforcement ammunition here. So either there's one of two things. You're using Winchester law enforcement ammunition, which would be a Ranger, probably T series. And when you were talking about like the indentations when you're looking at that round, like from looking at it on top, I think there's some visual evidence that maybe that is exactly what it is. So you've got a law enforcement round at the scene and you're testing it with like ammunition, like the exact same kind, or it's not the exact same kind and somebody just has this around and it's easier to use. Except I distinctly recall them saying, we don't carry 40, we carry 9mm, all of us, nobody carries it. So
somebody testified to that.
Right.
You're right.
Right. So somebody's got all this 40 ammunition. Who's right there in Delphi that's got 40 caliber law enforcement ammunition when none of you carry 40s? Sounds like a lie to me.
So
ISP had 40s back then, right?
I believe that they had 45.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the I think they were 227 45 was their standard.
Okay, what about the FBI?
The FBI highly likely that, I mean, it could be Rich Davies' personal ammunition. He had recently come from the FBI and may have just continued to use this.
What about Dan Dillon, the fish cop?
Mr. Fishing License.
I've tried to look into like what everybody uses, and it's hard information to pin down a lot of the time. I'm not sure specifically on DNR.
Who had a Glock 17, DB? Dan Doolin did? I don't know if that's the answer to that. All right, I'm going to go back over here real quick. So then I guess my question is, who's recording this?
One of the other Unified Cabal dudes. Probably.
This is Richie.
Yeah, that's Rich Davies.
Yeah, but so okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about with this video?
Well, I think that, like, if you infer a little bit that, you know, say it's option 1 and they're specifically using Winchester law enforcement rounds, Rangers, because the one at the scene is a Ranger, that makes it much more likely that it came from law enforcement. And I don't know. I don't think that I've seen enough to not believe more along the lines of what Barbara McDonald reported, and that the scene was not secured, and that I think the likelihood that this could have been a dropped round from law enforcement, like, seems much more likely if they're testing law enforcement rounds to compare to the round at the scene.
I mean, the box of ammo is here. You could probably figure out which one that is. I can't, but one of you guys that's into the guns could.
Yeah, that brown.
Well, I'm gonna see if Radar sent me. And Fiend, you're cutting out. See if Radar sent me that video. It's either a Winchester Ranger box or a Winchester HST 180 grain. Yeah, see that? That means something to Fiend and Luke, but not to me.
Maybe to Sleuthy.
I don't know, Sleuthy. How do you feel about your knowledge on guns?
Well, it's not guns; it's ammunition. So,
Either way.
Why? What is the question?
Nothing. Never
Do you
mind.
recognize the box on the table?
Actually, I can tell you exactly what it is.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, so I think there's a bit of indication that the two rounds are not the exact type of same rounds. Like the scene is a law enforcement round, and the one at Richard Allen's house is a civilian round.
Well,
they're very similar, but they're not the same.
Well, can we discuss, like, do we know that if all 5 of these unspent rounds of Brad Weber's are actually still in evidence? Are there still actually 5 of them?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
The gun went back to Brad, I think, in 2017. It was with Ellie for 6 months, I think. But I doubt they sent the bullets back.
No, they should still have them in evidence. Jen Cruz said it's probably a good time for me to give the asshole speech. So I'm assuming that probably has to do with a couple people in chat, one in particular. So I will say it. Here's the asshole speech. I don't care about your opinion on the case. I don't care whether you think he's guilty. I don't care if you think he's innocent. I don't care if you have no fucking idea what you think of the case. I have one rule only. It's don't be an asshole. If you're an asshole, then one of the mods will block you. Happily. I promise you they will. So that's it. It's fairly simple. If you don't want to watch the channel and you don't like me, nobody is holding any of these guns to your head at all. Go. Be free. Enjoy your life. Get the hell out of my chat. That's it.
Honestly, this isn't even a topic that has anything to do with, like, I mean, you know, it could have something to do with anything, but like it's entirely possible that, you know, I mean, just because it's law enforcement ammunition, I mean, you can buy anything at a gun show. You can buy anything secondhand or from a surplus. Like, I mean, it doesn't preclude a civilian having that type of ammunition. But we do know that, like, according to them, the empty box of ammo at his house is not law enforcement ammunition. Period.
Right.
It's not a box that looks like that brown box there. Like, that brown box is for law enforcement. They're specifically marketed and, you know, directly sold only to law enforcement.
DB asked whether these were sent to Nibin, which is also a good question.
That is a good question.
I mean, I would assume they aren't, because they aren't even sending them to the lab. I mean, they're just doing like a break room like experiment here.
So I don't know how much more specific you need. Huh?
No, I'm pulling up the clip that Radar sent me. Sorry, so it was talking in the background. I'm going to mute while you talk for that so I can download these clips real quick.
I'm just saying it says Winchester, law enforcement, Ranger bonded, it looks like it says.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ranger. It'll be a bonded hollow point. And I think T series. Hey, it's T for T.
Why has it got to be a T? I was just going to say, why has it got to be the T series?
Well, the T is for Talon. So when you were looking at the top down view of that round, and you're noting like the indentations kind of around it, and you'll notice it's got like a star kind of pattern. And DB was saying that's a very deep cavity. Those are all indicators for that it could be a ranger. Just what you can tell visually. What we have to go off of. All we can do is look with our eyes. We don't have a whole lot more to go off of here, but it does appear to be consistent, to use their own language. It does appear to be consistent with like a Ranger T-Series round.
Okay, sorry, you guys probably hear all that dinging. I'm just trying to download the stuff that was sent to me. So it's this one right here.
Law enforcement only.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a disclaimer that goes with that. Just because if they don't sell it to law enforcement, they'll sell it to like a secondhand place, and then anybody can get it. We've got really.
It says active duty or
very
retired
liberal,
law.
like gun laws in Indiana. So your First Amendment or your Second Amendment rights, or your First Amendment rights suck, but your Second Amendment rights are pretty decent. Like if you get your hands on it, you have every right to own it.
It says items noted with active duty or retired law enforcement ID required are available for purchase by appropriate active or retired law enforcement personnel with approved credentials. Any purchasers of these products will be asked to provide identification prior to shipment. And that's, of course, just on that website, like that came from.
So any dealer will only sell them to law enforcement. It's just that all of this stuff gets out in circulation, and then anybody can have it.
So what are the implications? Because Brad has been like, if we say he's not, like, if we suspend our belief that he's a person of interest, what does it say about the ISP or whoever was doing this using such sloppy methods in their investigations? And what does that say about the rest of their work?
Well, I'm not sure, but like either they didn't really take him very seriously and just thus didn't do a serious testing, because this is not serious testing. And God, this picture, this thing is gonna give me nightmares. Get the chat to say. I want to know what everybody's opinions are about that object that is plugged into the extension cord right next to the chair.
A foot massager.
That's
to fix his toe issues.
We've been brainstorming this over on the Twitters. Oh God, why?
He's gonna massage his toe. It hurts.
Oh my. So okay,
He's got
I'll give you
phantom
one
toe pain.
Okay. I've been leaning towards space heater just because it's like I'm in the middle of winter and like it's right there by that chair. But I've heard some pretty interesting like other ideas.
So it has like a gauge on it. I don't think it's a space heater.
T, let it out. Go on.
I tried really hard. To not laugh. Sorry. This still looks like a foot massager to me. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm such a child. I would say that be a broom.
It actually is interesting at the broom a little bit because the broom is right there, and then you've got one dustpan that's hung up, and you've got the other dustpan that isn't hung up. So like they hang up their dustpans, but there's one that's been potentially used here recently.
This is a shovel.
That's a snow shovel, yes.
That's a shovel, and then a broom, a garden hose.
Do you know what that red? Do you know what that red dot is there?
It's a tennis ball.
You got it, Sleafy. Yeah,
it's for if you're too dumb and you don't know how far you can pull into your garage. The tennis ball stops you.
It's because of his mom.
It's floating
She's
here. It's floating in the foreground.
Oh.
Yeah, it's right here. She's a little older. My grandma had one. So that once it hits your windshield, you know that's where you're supposed to stop.
Yeah, that's a common thing in Indiana, probably.
Well, my grandma was in the Midwest, so yeah. I don't know. We don't do that. We don't do that in Cali.
Right. There. I mean, it's very regional places that have garages versus those places that don't, and as well as basements.
All right. So people think it's a car battery charger.
Was he a Tesla driver?
It might be a Tesla charger.
He's charging his imaginary car.
I think
he sits in that chair and pretends he's an
Subaru would not be happy with that.
You know what? Maybe he's like one of those people that sticks the little things on his nipples and then like electrocutes himself, and that's why it scares it.
That was one of.
You can see Brad
in his garage chair.
Oh yeah, there's just a chair sitting there, so that's why I'm thinking it has something. Whatever he's doing, he's sitting there doing it. He's definitely not standing up.
With his feet in the water for fun, right? For extra buzz.
That was actually a suggestion, but like on Twitter. But
where was that a suggestion?
I don't see the like basically the jumper cables for it to be a car charger or whatever like that.
Say
like it's just a black box. That is all that I really can make out. Somebody else had said maybe a hedge trimmer or electric chainsaw. And that's possible because if you zoom in really close to underneath the chair, so to the left of it, go up just a little bit more, right there is. But so you see that orange there, that's directly to the left of the black box. Is it just the orange extension cord, or is there a blade coming off of it? You think it's just the extension cord? I can
see what you're saying, like right here.
Right there. Yeah.
I can see what you're saying. No, see, I think it's
a pilot extension cord.
It's an orange extension cord meeting the cord of the nipple shocker.
Right here. This is where the innie and the outie is. Right there, and then it comes back around, and then it's all wrapped up. So whatever it is, it's got a really long cord in itself.
This is just so strange. I see a Butterfinger wrapper.
You do?
Yes.
Where?
Right there.
Oh, hey, right there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what they say about guys that eat Butterfingers?
No.
I don't know what they say. I was just saying it.
Maybe he attaches it to his missing toe.
This looks like a sandwich.
Check your. I think it's just dirt. Check your DM, please.
Going in now.
So I think the whole purpose of this was to show the sticks, because I think the idea was that they appeared. I mean, obviously, this is a trashy quality image. Not sure why it's this trashy, unless it's from printing, scanning, and all that shit. But the point was the sticks, or maybe.
And it made the jury gasp, right? If you remember back on the day they presented this to the jury, they gasped. That was what people were saying anyway.
Probably, probably was it like right after the
What the fuck is that?
That looks like a grandma's head, like a grandma doll, and then it looks like a trumpet below it, or maybe. Okay, the quality is horrible. That is bug spray at the bottom.
Oh yeah, like a little, like take it out in your yard and kind of have the little hose thingy. Yeah.
And above it is I still don't know. Maybe a rag, and it looks like a dildo.
Kind of goes with the foot massager.
And then
So you got a butterfinger, a dildo, a foot massager, electric nipples. What is this?
There's so
like
many little brooms,
like a playroom.
hand brooms. There's many dustpans. There's an umbrella. What else? I wonder what's on top of the car.
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Is that a ribbon tied to the door? The garage door?
Right here.
It's a red, white, and blue. It's like a breast cancer ribbon.
Okay.
It's a sticker. Yeah. They put it like a sepia filter over top of this.
What about above the door? Like a little cuckoo. No, the wooden door, the house door.
Oh, right here. Yeah, that looks like just like a little
plaque,
like
a little flourish.
Okay, so I asked my husband what he thinks this is, and he thinks it's an air compressor.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Just without whatever attached to it, like without the tube for like a tool or whatever.
Oh shit, we lost Fiend. I didn't even realize we lost Fiend. I was on the wrong screen.
Someone said, could he have been like redoing the chair? So I guess if you would have an air compressor, you might have an air compressor.
You don't have to pump up wooden chairs, Lizzie.
What is it?
You don't.
What?
The chair didn't need inflating. It's made of wood.
That's not the only thing you use an air compressor for.
And to pump up the wooden chair.
No, you could use it for tools. I mean, I don't know if you could use it for a sander, but I mean, because that's what I was thinking. I don't know that you could, but you can use it for other tools.
You think the little black box can be an air compressor? It's too small? Oh.
Well, what if it's for tiny tools?
No, it's an air compressor. Let me see.
It's plugged in, so like whatever he was doing, I just find its location convenient for someone that wanted to sit and be stimulated.
And have electric, yeah, mm-hmm. For sure. Maybe he had a laptop with a really bad like battery life and needed to be plugged in.
Could be. Maybe he's trying like stimulation therapy on his toe.
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
It's not very big. It's just a little one.
Don't tell Brad that.
I think he knows.
Is this the whole picture?
Right there. That's the whole picture.
Okay. So
I got them from the newer ones. I got them off of the Fox. Was it Fox 59 or is it a Fox another one? I don't remember which one. I think it's Fox 59. Where for Max Lewis, and So the quality isn't the greatest that they posted them with. I mean, like Barb McDonald's on Court TV is better. So as I was zooming in on different photos, it changes, and it's just very granulated and very blurry.
Look at
They didn't make it easy for the public to take the images. I'll just say that.
Purple Amarilla said, nope, that's a chair for a hostage. I've seen the movies. For some reason on my phone, I can't click on comments.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, so I'll go back to the exhibits so we can see what else was dropped off with Max Lewis. So now we have Tom Webster, who got 4 things essentially. We got Susan Hendricks, who got a few more after Barb McDonald got some, and now we have Max Lewis, who got more. Plus some of the other, so some of them are overlapping and could be are the same. So I only took the ones that we needed, especially for Max Lewis's, because the quality is so bad. I wasn't going to replace better pictures with the bad ones. So we talked about the one jewelry box pick that we got that we didn't have before. There were a few other gun on the bed picks. You guys want to just skim through those, maybe, if I can pull it up. So we had one prior. We had exhibit 267. Now we have 264, 265, and 266.
You see that bullet right there?
Yes.
So that bullet right there would be the one that they ejected from that gun right there.
Correct.
So do we know for sure that this bullet is not what was compared to the, oh no, because it supposedly Winchester. I was just thinking
that'd be a Blazer.
Yeah, but and I was just thinking, like, this was supposed to be ejected the same way that they say that the one at the scene happened to have been done. So what would stop them from using this one and the other one, like this one and then the test one that they do, but then they wouldn't have had to fire it. So never mind. I'm just thinking out loud.
I love the filters they use on these photos. Like, they make them look so sinister.
Yeah, they do.
Right, here's a guy who's got a racked gun on his bed. Like, how dodgy does that look?
Like, how many people thought that was spots of blood all over the blanket?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is also black, and many people try to say that the little brown thing you can see in the Bridge Guy video is what he was talking about. So I thought that was interesting too.
For God's sake, we all know that was a puppy.
And then everybody was trying to figure out what this was over here. That was like a big topic. Like, what is this?
A rug, maybe? We can pull up pictures of the house from when she sold it. I wonder if that rug is still present.
And how do we feel about them putting all of this just on the bed?
Stupid and unscientific. And where's the rule? You know, the measuring rule, which you should have in these kind of photos. And look at that. That's terrible.
Look at the photo. And then this is the one we had prior that had already come out. And then we got some more pics of the garage. Let's see.
Like, where did they find this? Do they have photos of where they found it?
No. Oh, well, hold on. Okay, so I'll skip ahead a little bit. I was going to show you guys. So if you guys remember, I put all the exhibits as we get them, like in a Google Drive, and All Eyes had done this incredible organized thing where she put all the exhibits where you can actually just click on them straight through a Google Doc. So then I took her list and I made one on every exhibit that we're missing outside of what is sealed. So like not counting crime scene photos, not counting anything that they're not going to give us regardless of who asked for it, right? Or they're not supposed to, unless Nick decides to put it in filings. Other than that, we're not allowed to see them. So I made a separate list to go through what is missing that we should still have access to based off of what she had in there. So one of the things that we are missing just bringing this up because of what we were just talking about.
The bridge guy video?
Well, we haven't got we don't have the bridge guy video. It is, no, it's, where did I put it though? Is the sealed box with the handgun inside. So it's 276. So I don't know if this sealed box with the handgun inside is what they're saying is from the house, or if this is, because it goes in, if you look at the exhibit numbers, it's in with the house stuff. But, you know, they also put like firearms in a cardboard little box. You know what I'm saying? And then that's what they typically will show. They'll open it for like evidence purposes. So they did not release this one, so I don't know which one it is. So I'm bringing it up because I thought that was interesting that we don't know where, we didn't actually see the gun in the location in the house where they actually found it. They didn't obviously walk in and find it laying on the bed. So it could go either way. I just don't know until we actually see the exhibit.
Yeah, that's true, because it could have been in like a cabinet. It could have been in anywhere.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, I wonder, Fiend, do you remember from the evidence list if it actually says where the gun was located? I mean, I could pull it up, but somebody might remember that off the top of their heads. He kept it in the nightstand, I think. But okay, so like we have a gun in the nightstand, but it's still in a locked box. So I don't know, but sealed kind of threw me. So I was like, it could be an evidence box. It could be something that they actually found it in.
This is so dumb, this evidence thing. Like, why are we playing this game? It's completely crazy.
Sorry, I wasn't.
There's only two things that are sealed by order, and that's the crime scene photos and the autopsy report. And yet we're here like waiting for journalists to be kind enough to release these things once they've been compressed and, you know, whatever.
Well, I find I was color coding this because I was finding it very interesting when I was taking the info from All Eyes' spreadsheet that essentially everything so I color coded it so we could see exactly what was missing. Everything having to do with the Bridge Guy video. Everything to do with the Bridge Guy video. The Bridge Guy video itself, all the enhancements, all the photos from that, anything to do with it is non-existent in what the state has released so far. Anything to do with the extractions of the cell phones or any, I don't know if they actually entered that in a trial though. Now I'm trying to think, did they? But anything to do with the extractions of the phones, we don't have any of that. So like all of what's his name's reports, Cecil's extraction reports, we don't get any of those. Or the other guys, we don't have any of that stuff. So you get nothing to do with the phone except for photos of the phone. That's all they're going to give us is the photos of the phone. The other big thing that they don't give us is anything to do with Dan Doolin and the tip. So all the exhibits that were entered that have to do with Dan Doolin, we don't get to see those. They haven't released one out of any of them. And then anything to do with the rest of Rick Allen's, you know, Walla Walla Bing Bang bullshit, because they want to keep her stuff sealed, but yet it was done in open court. So not sure. And all the suicide companion stuff. There was two other things, Sleuthy, we were talking about. What else did I say?
Let me look.
Okay. So then the other part is that like 90% of the defense exhibits have not been put out.
That was it. So you said Bridge Guy video, Dan Doolin, 90% of the defense exhibits, and any phone data / extractions.
So why is that?
Yeah, good question.
There's something else I was going with on the picture, though. Hold on. Go back to the photos. Or maybe I was pulling up new photos. I was pulling up new photos, wasn't I? That's what I was doing. Okay, so they gave us, we had one of the car, and then we got another one of the car. So we got 249, and we had We had, what the hell did I do? Now I got to fix that because they're supposed to be
His garage,
241.
his garage is
241 is
considerably
50.
less creepy.
Yeah, you want to look at his stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty clean. No motorcycle.
It's also better quality.
Hi, Andrew. It is better. Well, this is also one that we may have already had. So it might not be from Max. Here's 251 we got.
So neat and tidy.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
What does that say, I wonder? It's Cheez-Its. It's a box of Cheez-Its. And then we got 252. So showing some scissors, a few of the knives they took, some of the box cutters in the drawer.
Which they didn't take away.
They did not take any of the box. I was just going to thank you. Look, yeah, they did not take any of the damn box cutters.
Freaking idiots. And the little cat, the cat is so cute, right? Like, come on.
Such a bad guy keeping a cat out there.
For sure.
Anything else interesting in there? Okay. Closer up of the knives and the sheaths. Now, this is in the kitchen. Pocket knife. Another box cutter. That's 254, 255. Here's all your phone cords. I have a box that looks like this. I'm just gonna tell everybody right now. I have a box that looks like this. It's not just phone cords. It's like literally every loose cord that I've ever found. It's in a box.
I mean, that's smart. That's a smart thing to do. Mine are like, I just throw them out because they multiply.
They do. I have to move them to a bigger box. They didn't know on 10/13/2022 a box cutter would be relevant later on because Walla Walla Ding Dong hadn't worked her dark magic yet. Right, because there was nothing in the autopsy that suggested that the girls were killed with a box cutter. Until after they just decided that because Richard Allen said something about a box cutter.
Yeah, last summer when Dr. Death went for lunch with Nick McClelland.
Dr. Death?
No, it's Dr. Poor, actually. Sorry.
Oh yeah, he has a podcast now.
Yeah. He's trying to compete with what's his name? Nancy Grace's friend.
Oh, my bestie.
Joe Scott Morgan.
We don't say her name here.
I think whenever I listen to her.
Is the one who argued about the fact that you're not when I said you're not actually dead until you're warm and dead, and he said he'd never heard that before. How would Joseph Scott Morgan never have heard you're not dead until you're warm and dead?
Yeah, seems odd.
I lost my faith at that point in time. So here's some old cell phones. I have a few that look just like this. I don't have one that's that big, and that looks like an old like a phone, like a cordless phone from your house, to be honest with you. A couple pagers. I think I had this phone.
Man, some of them are old as shit. Yeah, the one on the right too it looks like the one that my mom used to have in the minivan. She'd keep it under the seat. It was a work phone. The one on the right.
This one?
Yeah. It was big, and she kept like a plastic. It was like a plastic zipper case cover, but like that's all it was like a zipper and plastic. It wasn't like a case like we have now.
Chelsea, I have to send you a pic of Dr. Kohler.
Wait a minute. Is it the one where he's like?
Is it the one I
laying on
used for the thumbnail on his video? You guys have all listened to his interview, right? I'm assuming everybody's listened to that by now.
I don't think I have, but I saw a picture.
You didn't?
No, I don't think.
Oh, hold on. Dr. Kohler. I shall find it. I think I used that. I don't know if it's the same picture she's talking about, but it's the picture that I sent you. I used for the thumbnail.
And I said that this can't be. Why does this seem? I was like, what?
What kind of podcast is this guy? This guy got going on?
I was like, why does this seem like a joke? Wait, so I'm confused now. Is it real or no? Is that picture real or not?
The one I sent you?
Yes.
Yes, that's his picture
You're
on his
lying.
podcast. No. No, that's his picture. Hold on,
my God.
I'm gonna find
What?
it.
I'm
Video.
horrified.
I think it's just in the playlist. Hold, please. Let me find it.
I thought somebody made it, like how we make funny pictures, you know?
No, no. Somebody did make it. It just wasn't one of us. It was one of his team.
God. And he looked at it and was like, I look really good in this. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did I not publish it? Oh yeah, I did. It's right here. Hold on. Yeah, I used it. It's him laying down on the table in the morgue. Yeah.
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 I had no.
Yeah, so he did it with the Hammer and Nigel or whatever they are. I'm not overly familiar with them, but I just clipped out just his part and then posted that. You have no clue what we're talking about? Yeah. So he has a new podcast talking about cases. This is the medical examiner, the forensic pathologist from the Delphi case. He started a podcast after the trial, which he was told, because he wants to write a book, but he was told by and I might say the wrong person, but like the publicist person, he talks about it in the interview, that he was told that he needed to have more of like a social media presence. So he started this podcast to start going through like cases that he had. And so then he started doing like a social media tour of interviews to promote his new podcast in order to promote his new book. So have you guys not heard this? This is a little while ago.
No, I didn't listen.
Do you want to listen to it?
Teresa, I want to do whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Unless it's looking at Brad Weber's toe. Oh, Teresa.
No idea that you were the one that had to look at the photos, the autopsies of Abby and Libby in the Delphi trial. Take me through what that was like, knowing this was such a high-profile trial. Was there any pressure? What was that like?
Okay, well, in fairness, what you're seeing on here, you have not seen, because unless you watched it on my channel, because I posted this, but I put this, it was just audio. So what you're seeing, you haven't actually seen, if that makes sense. I put it together. I don't know if that matters. But what you're hearing is the audio from their show.
Well, it's interesting that I got this case in the first place. I'm based in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is far, far away from Delphi. It's like 100 miles as the crow flies. And although during my career, I had a kind of a referral area of around 13 counties in western Indiana and eastern Illinois. Occasionally, I'd get the strays coming by special request. The way I got involved with this case from Delphi was actually at the request of the Indiana State Police. Now, I worked with many of the evidence techs and detectives for many years, the way they're spread out over the state. One of my responsibilities over the years was I was recruited to give them kind of a finishing class before they went out on the field as independent crime scene investigators. So,
Yeah, so he was brought into the case on purpose from an ISP person who contacted him, and he was surprised because he never covers anything down in Delphi because he's from Terre Haute. So when he was contacted and asked to take on this case because he knew somebody in ISP.
So I got to know a great deal of these people, and one morning after the bodies were discovered, I received a phone call actually from the scene. One of these gentlemen who I'd known for years and years, you could tell he was upset by just the tone of his voice. He said they had a very difficult case they were dealing with, and they wanted me to do the autopsy. Now, in Indiana, the way the autopsies are ordered is generally it's by the coroner in the jurisdiction where the body is found. So this would have been Carroll County, Indiana, which I'd never dealt with before. I knew of the coroner up there, but had never worked with him one-on-one. So it seemed strange when I clarified that we were talking about someplace so far away. And I told the state police person on the phone, I said, well, I'll be happy to do the case, but you guys are not the ones that legally can request it. It's going to have to come from the coroner. And it took about 5 seconds to get him put on the phone, and he made the formal request. So we made arrangements to proceed. So,
yeah. So ISP didn't even have the authority to ask this guy to come in, and yet they called him anyway, and then told the coroner to tell, to request, because the coroner, the local coroner, is actually the one who has to request somebody else to come in. So ISP got him and said, hey, tell this guy you want him.
And he was basically a child, so.
I think he was what? I think we determined he was like 19 or 20-ish at the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't quote me on his age. He was really young. Yeah, they call him from the scene, and they're like, nope, we're gonna get Dr. Core to come in and do this from the scene. Hi, Hess.
At the time, I really didn't have any clue how big a deal it was, other than the fact that knowing these CSIs from state police, who I respect very much, for them to be that upset about something, I knew it had to be something of fairly grand nature.
Right.
So anyway, arrangements were made to get the bodies transported for autopsy the next morning. Both bodies were brought down, as well as a contingent of investigators, which included the Carroll County coroner, state police evidence technicians, detectives working the case, and really didn't have a whole lot of heads up until they arrived that morning. And my typical routine when I start a case like this is before we even take the bodies out of the refrigerated storage, I will ask for kind of a brief synopsis from the investigators to try to get a feel from where we're going. And then we kind of just get into it. And the body bag is opened. We photograph in the bag. We make note of clothing, blood, obvious wounds.
Doctor, real quick, let me jump in here real quick. When you talk about the wounds here, for so many people, this was a case, this was a trial they were interested in, but they were relying on outside sources to give them information because no cameras were in this courtroom. Remind everybody, if you can, what the wounds were on these young ladies.
Well, we had what we call sharp force injuries to the neck on both young ladies. Now, in forensics, you break down things by blunt force injuries, sharp force injuries, penetrating gunshot type injuries, things of that type. And in sharp force, there's also 3 subcategories. There are incised wounds, there are stab wounds, and there are what are called chop wounds, which are kind of with a heavier sharp bladed instrument like a machete or something like that. And these were somewhat unusual in the fact that they were not really classic for either stab or incised, because they were fairly short, but in areas, sometimes they looked a little bit more, at least in the young lady that had multiple wounds. And, for the sake of, the family, I'm not going to go into great details in terms of, by names, but just we're going to be talking in generalities here.
Of course.
But one of the young ladies had a single sharp force injury to her neck, whereas the other had multiples. And again, these wounds didn't fit what I normally see in the multiple sharp force injuries I've seen over my career. Stab wounds tend to be deep, but not necessarily long, whereas incised wounds are more slashing sort of things that are not necessarily very deep. And these were kind of neither, fish nor fowl in that regard. They were kind of a mixed bag.
I was wondering also,
they were a mixed bag. So some were deep, some were long, they were a mixed bag of it. Possibly 2 weapons. And I don't know. Let's talk about how deep a box cutter is really going to go. Yeah, there are 2 families. Does anybody here know who was at the autopsy? I don't remember that off the top of my head. Who attended? Was like Holman there? Just Tony? Yeah, it's not fish nor fowl. It's neither one of those. It's a combo. You can have fish and fowl. Anybody remember who attended the autopsy? Why does the guy? This is their program photo. So this is Hammer and Nigel. This is their podcast promo photo. I just used it. So that's the people who are hosting the podcast.
I don't remember anyone that was there to besides Liggett.
Was it Oberg? Oberg wasn't at the autopsy, was she, DB? Or are you just making stuff up again?
No.
Okay, all eyes. Tobe was there. Tobe, Liggett, Olehi, and Riley. Kim Riley was there? That's interesting. But I lie about that. The death certificate doesn't say suicide. It's the way that those documents are uploaded into Ancestry. I can show you guys that if you want. The way that they're uploaded into Ancestry, anything with the checkbox it doesn't work correctly with the Ancestry software. So when it's uploaded in there, it changes it to whatever one of the boxes says. That's why it says, I think they either both or one of them says married or something along those lines. Anything with those little check boxes it just doesn't go correctly into the system. So when the death certificates were uploaded into Ancestry and pulled from Ancestry, what we see is a version of it from Ancestry, not the original version, not the original death certificate. So it gets kind of confusing because that's what was released out to the public because it was on Ancestry, but it's just the way their software is. So it could not, they didn't like scan it and put it in or take a picture of it and put it in, which would have been better than trying to upload it straight to Ancestry the way that it was done. It's just, sadly, it's common. So, and if you guys have more questions on that, I'm happy to show you and walk you through like the death certificates from like the Florifiers of the girls versus the Delphi girls and how it kind of correlates and which ones were uploaded to Ancestry and which ones weren't. And I can show you both, but let me finish.
Fans try to like discredit you when you were on the stand, or was it more of a fact, more like?
No, I mean, I had to give a deposition in this case last February, long before the trial actually, started up in the fall. During the course of a deposition, you're testifying under oath. And at the time I was asked about, what I thought in terms of a weapon. And I really had to tell them at the time, well, it's serrated life, but I can't be more precise.
Yeah.
And of course they document that. Well, during the course of last summer, because you don't shut your mind off to thinking about this thing, because I know the case is coming up. It's going to be a big deal. I was out in my garage, happened to glance over at my workbench, and there on one of the pegboards, I saw a box knife hanging there that had a very almost identical pattern as what I described as those serrated-like marks on the side as a thumb grip. And I looked at that and said, son of a gun, that would explain exactly what we're dealing with, box knife. And that would fit the depth of the wounds we were dealing with. It would fit the contused edges of the wounds.
Yeah.
Everything would fit with the box knife. So I communicated that with the prosecution next time I met with them. a week or so after I testified, I was following the trial in the media, and I came across an article about one of the other witnesses who happened to be the warden at one of the state prisons where he was held for a time prior to trial. And the warden was one of the many people that our accused confessed to, in addition to confessing to family, confessing to other cellmates, and multiple other people, some of which were recorded. He confessed to this one warden, and what he told the warden was he'd used a box knife and then thrown it in a dumpster. Had that information been forwarded to me at some point, it would have kind of verified we had essentially two people who independently had information suggesting box knife. And that was one of the things I think that hopefully convinced the jury that box knife is something I thought could have been done, and then somebody is actually confessed to that says he admitted using a box knife.
Yes.
And you can't write that sort of thing off as coincidence.
And you believe there's only one assailant, right?
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing that...
Go ahead, Sleuthy.
I'm just saying, no, can't you? Like, write it off as coincidence because someone in 2017 said it was a box knife. He means box cutter. What?
Am I incorrect in remembering that one of the defense attorneys said that when they were doing the deposition with court, they talked about if it could have been a box cutter?
No. When he testified, that was the first time they ever heard him say box cutter, was at trial.
They heard him say it, yes. But I'm talking about in that deposition, didn't they bring, and please don't take this as fact because I'm just trying to go with my memory here, but I swear that it was one of the defense attorneys brought it up about it being a box cutter in that deposition, and then he goes home and...
No, he met with McClelland like 3 times before he goes home and he's sitting in his garage. It was after his deposition. He talked to McClelland multiple times. And then one day he was sitting in his garage and he happened to look over and see this hanging box knife and was like, hey, that would work. And he didn't say anything to the defense about it. He didn't file any supplemental report. He just waited till trial to say it.
I know that part, but I in my mind, I think that one of the defense attorneys brought it up to him in the deposition.
Mm-mm.
And that's why he saw the box cutter out in his garage and was like, this could be it.
Yeah, no, it was.
Does anybody in chat remember it the way I remember it? Because I want to go. I'm like, you have you took the notes for Dr. Core for our for our thing. You have those.
Let me go look.
Okay. Hi, Hella.
Oh, Google Drive must have updated.
It did. And it was weird when I had to pull stuff up. Judge Jessica does not remember it my way.
I'm assuming it was on Cross.
Fiend agrees with you too. Okay. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I maybe my memory is just wonky.
It says in the deposition he acknowledged he had seen crime scene photos, but wasn't able to draw any conclusions about time of death or anything from the photos. He could not say much about the type of instrument that had been used. He could say that it was sharp bladed, but as far as a knife versus a scalpel, he wasn't able to say. He couldn't draw any conclusions about the length of the weapon. He said it could be anything from a pocket knife to a kitchen knife.
So it's long.
Mr. Rosie says, and you didn't mention a box cutter, did you? And he said, he did not. He could not say if the perpetrator was right or left-handed. I think that's it about that. He didn't say anything about this box cutter thing in his deposition. Like, I just read that straight from the thing. He can see
Maybe
there's
that's
no
what
way.
I'm remembering, is this them saying like, did we talk to you about this in the deposition, or did you bring this up? Maybe that's maybe that's why I'm thinking that, because I'm thinking of that question. Well, yeah, he allegedly told Wallace. So in the confessions, well,
says he didn't say anything about this box cutter thing in his deposition. He spoke to the prosecutor several times between the deposition in February 2024 and now, but at no point did he talk to the defense or raise this epiphany with the defense. He conceded there's no way to tell if the box cutter caused those wounds, that maybe 10% of the time he will change his mind about some detail after the deposition.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay, so the box cutter thing is, well, the weird testimony on the box cutter thing with the warden is that he supposedly told him that in March, but then we find out that it wasn't, that he actually stamped that letter incorrectly, and it was, we lost Luke. Okay, be right back. That it was stamped in, and then it was actually from April of 2024.
And it didn't have, it was that letter, it was that note that said, like, I want to confess or whatever, that he sent to the warden. It was not anything saying anything about a box cutter. I don't remember ever hearing the warden in any of the times he has ever testified that we have transcripts to, where he said that he like spoke to Richard Allen and Richard Allen told him anything, let alone that it was a box cutter. What the fuck is that? It belongs in Brad Weber's garage.
So put it in the chair.
Put it in the chair.
That was for DB. So in this supposed confession to the warden, it says, I used to work at CVS and disposed of a box cutter that used to kill the girls in a dumpster. That's the one he supposedly sends to him on 3/5 that's stamped 3/5. But then the other guy comes in and says, no, I'm the one who delivered it, and it was on 4/5.
He collected it on 4/5.
Yeah, so the warden couldn't have gotten it until 4/5 because it wasn't given to him to give to the warden until 4/5.
All right, but pull up that note. The one that, what's his face? What do you call him? The one that sat down with the Patties. What do you call him? You call him like a lady's name.
Oh, shit.
What is his name? I can't remember his real name or the name you call him.
I can't remember any of his names now. I know exactly who you're talking about. Hi, Michael.
No, it's a man.
No,
Raquel. Raquel.
Yeah, Raquel. Rachel. Wait, Raquel.
The one that he like
Raphael.
Oh, and you call him Rachel?
I don't know what that. I don't even remember.
I thought you called him Raquel.
I think I called him Raquel. I don't know what I did. I don't even know anymore.
So what I'm saying is that little note. I know it's one of the exhibits. The little note that he like traced over during trial. That says like, I'm ready. I want to confess, or I want to apologize to the family. Whatever it says. I want to see the date on that.
Oh.
Because I feel like it was 4/5. Like, where's this note that he said that he sent to the warden?
The
only note to
the envelope thing was stamped like, or handwritten 3/5.
Right.
I called him Raquel.
I knew it was Raquel.
Yeah, it was Raphael, and I called him Raquel because he was being such a bitch that day. Raphael Sanchez.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if I have that picture that you're talking about. Do I have that picture?
It's in. You must.
I have to. I did a fucking who knows where it is, but I have to have it somewhere.
It said 3/5 on it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But the guy that testified to actually receiving it from Richard Allen said, I received it on 4/5. So that means Warden got it and backdated it a month. And also it doesn't say what you just said he said.
No, but I don't know where the hell I have it. I wasn't prepared for that. So I can't just find stuff all willy-nilly. I know I have it somewhere. I'll look for it. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Not happy to be here about the exhibits and the case finally. I just, done with the rest of it.
How's your internet, Michael?
Oh shit!
We'll see. We'll see. That remains to be seen.
Sounding pretty clear, though. I think you'll be all right.
You do sound good. You sound good. Yeah. So we're watching.
Well,
I don't know if you were here a second ago. We're watching the interview with Dr. Roland Kaur.
Oh, I listened to that when it came out. The guy is, I don't know what to say. The guy is unreliable. Is the best word I can think of to him.
What do you think about ISP contacting him from the scene and wanting him to take over?
I don't think that's a problem if they think he's an expert, but it's clear that he didn't give them instructions about what to do there.
Oh, that's a good point too.
Or that if he did, they were terrible. I don't have any problem. I mean, if he's in Terre Haute and can't come up there, but he's the guy they want, then they get to choose. But and I got to say, good pathologists, there aren't that many. I don't know whether Kaur's good. I mean, he's done it a long time. He's experienced, but I've dealt with experts who've we dealt with one expert who's never wrong and nobody's ever disagreed with her. So, experts come in all shapes and sizes.
She's never been wrong.
Didn't they handpicked her as well, right? They sent it to Lowell when there was a closer ISP lab.
Yeah, so Kaur is he is who he is. I don't know enough about him. I don't know enough about his history. Look, they're experts. There was an expert running around. Well, no, I'll tell you about another case. There was a pathologist up in Lake County who and you almost can't get your head around it. He sits there on the stand and says, yeah, the woman was shot twice. And the prosecutor hands him, so there are these generic diagrams of bodies and pathologists, mark the places that bullets go in and bullets come out, and they label what's an entry wound and what's an exit wound. And the prosecutor hands the pathologist this diagram he drew, says, well, with this, is this going to help you? He said, yes, she was shot twice. The diagram shows she was shot 3 times. And I don't know if Kaur's like that. Maybe he's very precise, very good. We didn't hear anything about stomach contents, which would be interesting. Maybe he was never asked. I guess, Julie Melvin's there in the chat, I think I saw, and she was at the trial, so I don't remember anything about stomach contents. Look, the time of death is a big deal in this case.
That was a huge issue that many talked about, and it kind of came out like just essentially like if it was something that would be relevant or that there was anything to it, it would have come up on either side. But nobody brought up the stomach contents, which then we were like, okay, like, so it's just not relevant then? Like, how? I mean, why isn't anybody talking about it?
I can tell you, I've seen a lot of stuff that would have been relevant that didn't come up on either side. So,
Well, true, but I just thought that was it's interesting because we talked about that during trial. Nobody ever brought up the stomach contents whatsoever of either girl.
Yeah, and maybe there's not. Look, I mean, if there, I would think that, if there's something that would be helpful for one side, if there's nothing that might be helpful for the other, I don't know which way the result would fall, but you would think that something about it would help somebody one way or the other.
Hold on, I found the note. This is 292. I found it, Sleuthy. This one. This is the one that's supposedly about the box cutter. Exhibit 292. Just took me a minute.
This isn't Sanchez's version, right? This is the original.
This is the one that he's supposedly writing to the warden that gets dated the 3-5, but it's actually not. It's not, because he's the one who wrote 3-5 on it.
Do you remember Rafael Sanchez did his own sketchy version in the middle of trial?
Yes. Is that what you sent, Sleuthy? Let me go see if that's what you sent. I know I have that. I just don't know where it is. No, you sent the same one. I have to go find out where I have that at. I don't even know where the hell I have that at. Okay, let me finish playing this so we can finish this interview with him, and I'll look for that still. The one from Raphael, which it should just be like in an article. I should be able to find it pretty easily. Uh-oh, we lost Sleuthy.
That also we prepared for, which never got brought up in the courtroom, had to do with this theory of a ritual slaying by followers of the Norse god Odin. Well, and I anticipate these sort of things because part of my job is to educate the attorneys that retain me and to what sort of questions to ask, what sort of things to consider. And when you think of rituals, I don't know what everybody else thinks of rituals, but I mean, the Masons have rituals, fraternities and sororities have rituals, Catholic Church has rituals. But rituals are things that follow a very prescribed, organized, repetitive style, more or less a script. And the nature of the wounds on these two young ladies, clothing was still on them, clothing was off one of them, multiple wounds on one, single wound on another, just doesn't strike me as a ritual unless they were kind of making it up as they went.
He actually has a really good.
I had no idea.
The script and the nature of the wounds on these two young ladies, clothing was still on them, clothing was off on them.
I'm over here talking to you guys. You guys can't hear me. I'm on mute. I didn't realize that was the end of it. But so right after that comment, they start talking about his podcast and whatnot and what he's going to be doing for his podcast and all of that. You guys can go listen to the entire thing if you want to. I literally just clipped the part that had to do with Delphi so that it would be easy access. Hi, Kat.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
God, I love your voice.
Hey, Kat.
So Kat just sent me her link to
because that confession, the Rafael Sanchez that he copied in Allen County from the summer hearings is not about the box cutter.
No, do you have that? Is that in this post that you sent me or no?
Which one?
I don't know. You just sent me one in
the one I sent you is how it's likely possible that Dr. Kaur came to the idea of using a box cutter. But the other one, it doesn't say on the basically a kite at that says I'm ready to confess.
So this is.
Look, I think the box cutter thing was. If you take Kaur as an expert for 7 years, he says it's two separate blades. He doesn't come up with a box cutter thing until I'm pretty convinced he's been shown or told that Rick Allen has confessed to using a box cutter. And then Nick McClellan makes the mistake of using that, forgetting that Ron Logan had already confessed in 2017 to using a box cutter.
So Core said in that interview that he didn't hear this information about the confession until after he testified.
Yeah, well,
that was actually information that came out from the 3-day hearing. Like the public already knew about it.
Yeah, this goes like through the media storm.
Look, the guy may be completely honest. He had this idea at his tool bench, a eureka moment. It is altogether possible. It makes absolutely no sense to me, but I am not a pathologist. I don't know how you can say, well, a box cutter may have done it after you said it's 2 separate blades for 7 years.
Yeah, so he does. He tells Fisher on 4/29 he killed 2 girls from Delphi with a box cutter. He stole it, left it in the CVS trash, wanted to write a confession.
And Holman said he went and looked.
Look, the idea that Core, look, if I'm a prosecutor, right, and I have a confession with somebody that says I did it with a box cutter, I'm going to call up the pathologist and say, could it have been a box cutter?
Why wouldn't they have asked that in 2017 with Ron Logan's?
Look, I don't want to. We can do the conspiracy theories all night. Who knows? Why didn't they charge him? I mean, if the FBI, Logan, I mean, if the FBI had probable cause to search his place in March, I mean, once they had Logan's confession via Reese Davis, and so they had that in the tip file in May, this guy Mansard from state police interviews him 21st of June. Why isn't that probable cause to charge Ron Logan right then and there?
Right. So in this interview, which we did read back when it came out, where Jerry Holman says that he was actually surprised by the testimony of Core, which actually made it so he did believe 100% that Richard Allen did kill Abby and Libby. But it was Holman's testimony from July 31st where he talks about the box cutter and what Richard Allen said. Supposedly said.
Again, I mean, for me, the problem with that is that any competent prosecutor, once he has Rick Allen, so you've got the pathologist. I'm repeating myself and maybe trying to make it unnecessarily and stupidly clear. You have a confession. You have a pathologist who says 2 separate blades, 1 straight edge, 1 serrated. But you then get a confession saying, I did it with a box cutter. You're going to want to talk. You're going to want to talk to the pathologist to see if, like, his opinion. Maybe you didn't think about a box cutter. You want to corroborate whatever you can about the confession, right?
Right.
I mean, what you're going? I don't know. But what was also really interesting was that I think at the 3-day hearing they tried to tie up, the Rick's box cutter confession was, he confessed to a box cutter. I don't think they had. Hang on, this is. I don't think they had Core's opinion yet for that. Didn't he say that happened in August?
Yep. definitely.
Yeah. So at the 3-day hearing, they used the box cutter as a detail only the killer would know, not yet having Core's opinion on that. But it's really interesting that once they got Core's opinion on that at trial, McClellan never used the box cutter as the detail only the killer would know. He only used the van.
Correct. So here, then hear me out here, and I'm not trying to go down too many paths with it, but if Jerry Holman testifies on July 31st of 2024 that Richard Allen supposedly confessed to using a box cutter and throwing it away at CVS, and then all of a sudden, randomly in August, Mr. Core, who hasn't been doing anything with the case, he says he thinks about it a lot, but that he just randomly walks out to his garage, happens to see a box cutter that he's probably had since 2017, and goes, yeah, that probably is it, goes in October of the same year, testifies that he thinks it was a box cutter based on his looking in his own garage, and then goes and does an interview saying that he didn't learn about this supposed confession until after he testified at trial. But it just randomly in August, right after Jerry Holman says this thing about a box cutter, he happens to be looking at a box cutter in his garage.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
not
even
the Reese confession, like that's a box cutter, like detailed confession, like that no one went to him with.
Right.
Look, once Rick was charged, and certainly once they'd gotten to the Franks memo and the lawyers being removed and the contempt stuff, there was no way for McClellan to back out.
Well, so you think that's why he decided just to switch it to the van?
I don't know why he didn't
Clean
use the
hands that
box.
way as well.
I don't know why he didn't use the box cutter.
In opening statements, Baldwin said the two different blades, and I think, well, for me, that was the first time that I had heard that. So that might have interfered with the later Core testimony.
Well, and that's a different problem, and that is if they were blind. I mean, they should have been asking for a frigging mistrial then. I think if they had no knowledge that the box cutter was coming. I mean, they had an expert listed. You have to hand over the opinions of your experts. And I suppose Nick McClellan could get up there and say, "Oh, I didn't know he was going to say box cutter."
He didn't make a new report.
Jerry Holman is trying to pretend like that's what happened. Like, oh my gosh, I was so surprised, and it made me realize, yes, that's that he absolutely is the guy who did this.
Well, and I think that's when I mean, look, I really am not trying to second guess the trial lawyers here, but if you have in your head there's this Ron Logan confession, right? In the tip file and in the discovery. So there's the sort of general thing in the tip file, plus you have the written report of Hansard. It's not Mansard, it's Hansard. Like you ask for a mistrial, that's denied. You ask for a continuance because then you've got to go back and reconsider what you're doing, because I mean it's just wildly different testimony. It fits in with the evidence you have and the evidence that's there, and in the 20 terabytes of discovery in ways you've had no time to think about.
Yep,
Well, Ron Logan, was eliminated out, and they couldn't even say where the girls were found.
Can't talk about the property owner of where the girls were located.
Is that right?
Yeah, Logan was eliminated out of the trial. He was a third party.
Well, I understand that, but they weren't even allowed to say the girls were found on Ron Logan's property.
From my understanding, they weren't allowed to say Ron Logan. Somebody here tell me if I'm wrong, because I was under the impression they weren't even allowed to say Ron Logan.
That's pretty bad.
So we'd have to go back in the archives and see the wording on it, but I don't think they were allowed to say that. And that was one of the things I remember talking about live was, so they won't even be able to say his name. They were only able to say private property. Yeah, and T-Dub says the same thing. I don't think they were able to say his name. That's what I remember. I remembered talking about when we were reading through those documents. So, yeah, they couldn't say him. We were like, what are they going to do about the property the girls were found on?
No nexus.
No, yeah, there's no nexus to Ron Logan. We're like, they're on his fucking property. How is there no nexus to that? So I meant to show this earlier, and I apologize that I didn't. So I know I'm kind of backtracking on the information in the order I was sharing it, but we were talking about the video when the scene was resecured. So I wanted to play that for you guys because I know we talked about it, and people are going to be like, I thought you were going to play us this video, and you never did it. So this was from February 17th of 2017.
From Indiana's news leader, Eyewitness News Nightbeat starts now.
Well, there's a lot of people around town that's keeping their eyes and ears open.
It's been almost 4 days since the search for two missing girls turned into a murder investigation. But there's still no resolution in this case, with no arrest yet and no answers about what led to the death of 14-year-old Libby German and 13-year-old Abby Williams.
Police say they'll work through the weekend collecting tips from the community. And today, investigators returned to the area where searchers found the girls' bodies to look for more clues. Eyewitness News reporter David McAnally is in Delphi tonight, where family and friends are preparing to lay Libby and Abby to rest.
A busy working weekend for local and state police as they run down tips that come in this case with the help of the satellite dish that's been brought in and dispatchers coming in from other counties to help man those phones to deal with those tips. Friday evening, state police hurry into the cemetery, returning to the crime scene. Undercover officers did some work and left about 20 minutes later. At the same time, troopers checking out a car left at the High Bridge trailhead. Turned out to be a woman and kids out walking. Shows the high pace of police activity that'll go through the weekend, they say. Near sunset, up on High Bridge Trail,
I thought it was important to do.
Chastity Gerald knew both Libby German.
So that would have been Friday. So they're killed Monday, supposedly found Tuesday, and then on Friday they were rushing back to the scene and stayed out there for 20 minutes. Is that what you guys heard from that?
Yeah, then this has kind of been a mystery for years. Why they, it's like part of the law. This day where they rushed back for no reason, and some people were saying that it was because they had hidden cameras there, or someone strange had visited the cemetery, and there's all kinds of stories about this connecting to this.
Isn't that when they decided, oh, we should collect the sticks?
That was weeks later. Well, according to Barbara McDonald. Barbara McDonald, when she went on Court TV with the Franks, she was saying that, a source close to the investigation says like they didn't go back for weeks. And Doolin said like days, I think, at trial. And another person, the CSI guy, said days too, but.
And Barbara is the one that said that when they went back 2 weeks later, when they resecured the crime scene, is when they found the unspent round.
Yeah,
Datsman said he went back for the sticks on 2/15 the next day.
I haven't seen the pictures, but I have it from one of the investigators, unless my memory is wrong, and I don't think it is. But there is a picture of the bullet between the bodies with bodies or a body visible.
That's what I was saying. I'm glad I'm not crazy.
What were you saying, Kat?
Oh, I was saying that I think like I don't know where it was. I don't know. I was on somebody's live, but we were talking about that, and I thought I was crazy because I had heard the same thing from the investigator about the bullet by the feet in the photo.
You can see it in Holman's interview video. He's got the picture in his hand, and you can see the bullet next to a foot.
Yeah, Libby's foot.
Yeah, so I think this whole, I mean, you know, Rick Snay was saying he had, you know, access, or somebody he knew had access. He'd seen in the court documents that somebody with a metal detector had found the bullet several days later. I just don't think that's right.
Well, it's weird. Like in the interrogation, like Holman like repeats. I don't know. I probably have to go back and count how many times he actually says, "We found this. We found this on 2/14. This was collected on 2/14." Like, why does he? It's just like a weird thing. I'm like, why is he like over and over again saying that? Like, who's he convincing?
You're totally right.
No, look, there is a great deal that's odd about this. I mean,
Even in the Rosie's motion to suppress the statements with Holman, like I remember reading it thinking like, why is he talking out loud all of these details that like he doesn't need to say? He was like backdating a story like by saying it out loud in the interview room.
Yes, it was very weird. So there is, in the descriptions of the sealed exhibits, there is one that is supposedly a photo of Libby's foot with the unspent round, which is probably the same one we see in the interrogation. That's probably the one they use.
well, I sure wish that somebody, and I don't know who'd do it now, probably the appellate lawyers, but you know, the crime scene pictures that don't have body parts in them should be released. They should be unsealed.
Nobody challenged the motion.
I know.
So mad.
I know.
So mad about that.
No, don't. You're preaching to a one-man choir.
I'm trying to find, I don't know if it's the one I was just playing or not, but there's one where they're talking about, and if you guys happen to remember what news thing it was, it's there. They were talking about how they saw law enforcement back out there with metal detectors. I'm going to play the rest of this and see if it is this one, but it's right around the same time of the 17th-ish that they were back out there with metal detectors. So I'm going to see if it's in this clip.
And Abby Williams, the girls murdered not far from here. Libby was a good friend.
She loved to swim. And she's like always nice and happy.
Still hard to believe that it's happened, she says. Chastity was not on the trail Monday, but her friends were, and they told about a man they saw.
Yeah, they said that they had said hi and he just like brushed them off and kept going.
Did they think he was strange, out of place, or?
They said he was, but then again, it could just be a rumor.
They described him dressed in black. Meanwhile, police continue the search for this man. He would have been on the trail the same time as the girls. They say they want to talk to him about what.
And at the same time as the man dressed in black that these girls saw, because that's not this guy.
What he saw. And last night's search of the Delphi house will not lead to an arrest in this case, police say.
You can still feel the tension with it. Before it was peaceful, it's not really peaceful anymore.
Vincent brought his mother out to the bridge. Janine Carter has studied the photo released by police.
And we got the magnifying glass out. And those is what we call hunting pants. It's like something somebody that's into bird hunting or duck hunting would wear. And those was popular back in the 90s.
She and her fiancé among the hundreds who have tipped police.
And I told the detective, he said that it looked awfully like the guy he used to work with. And he said back then he knew that guy had a house down in this area. And he said he knew he was still around.
Just one of the tips officers are running down.
Where'd your papa go?
Back on the trail, Chastity's stepmother joined the kids.
They want to be involved to show their condolence.
Chastity wears her heart on her hand.
That's when they went missing.
Police hope legitimate tips will keep coming in and keep that system busy. We've got that number for you at WTHR.com. Back to you.
Chastity who?
Gerald, I think, is her name.
To the crime scene.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
Undercover officers did some work and left about 20 minutes later. At the same time, troopers
Thought it was important to do.
Chastity Gerald knew both Libby Gerald.
Yeah, Chastity Gerald. Says she was not there on Monday, but her friends were and saw the man dressed in black. And they said hi to him, and he didn't say hi back. Yeah, I think they actually put her.
Who did law enforcement work with that lives over there?
There it is. See,
Thank you.
That was at the end, right? I'm going to replay that.
He said he knew he was still around.
Just one of the tips officers are running down.
Where's your mom? It looked awfully like the guy.
Arrest in this case, police say.
You can still feel the tension with it. Before it was peaceful, it's not really peaceful anymore.
Vincent brought his mother out to the bridge. Janine Carter has studied the photo released by police.
And we got the magnifying glass out. And those is what we call hunting pants. It's like something somebody that's into bird hunting or duck hunting would wear. And those was popular back in the 90s.
She and her fiancé among the hundreds who have tipped police.
And I told the detective, he said that it looked awfully like the guy he used to work with. And he said back then he knew that guy had a house down in this area. And he said he knew he was still around.
Just one of the tips officers are running down.
Where's your mama go?
Back on the trail, Chastity's stepmother joined the kids.
They want to be involved to show their condolence.
Chastity wears her heart on her hand.
That's when they went missing.
Police hope legitimate tips will keep coming in and keep that system busy. We've got that number for you at WTHR.com.
I can't find the clip I'm looking for. Did anybody, if one of you guys in chat knows what clip I'm talking about, it's like one of the ladies is standing like towards the end of the bridge, and she's talking about that she had just seen the cops back out there with the metal detectors. If you happen to know what clip I'm talking about, can you guys help me out?
I got to bounce, but thank you, T. Bye, Michael.
Awesome,
and
Bye.
bye, Luke, and everyone else.
I lost Luke too. I lost Luke. You lost Luke. All right, Kat, thank you. And then there were two, Michael. Then there were two.
Just us, huh?
Yep, it's just us. Do you want to keep going through the exhibit stuff? I'm trying to. I really wanted to find that video, but I can't seem to find it.
Hey, it's your show. I will do whatever you want.
We were just going through the new exhibits that were brought in by. We've kind of just been all over the place now. Did we go over? We did go over the car selfie. Yes.
Is it what was the phone itself actually entered into evidence?
So the phone,
or just photographs of it? Yeah, Libby's phone.
I don't think there was a lot of actual physical evidence that was given at the trial. I'd be curious to ask like an Andrea Burkhart or a Bob, but from my understanding, like they put a bunch of photos in of everything, and then supposedly like with the jacket and stuff, like the jury would have it, but I would need clarification on that from somebody who was there.
I mean, there is stuff on that phone. There is stuff on that phone right through October of 2017.
Stuff on the phone from October of 2017, all the way
There's
through.
Stuff on yes.
Okay, can we talk like incoming information, like text messages and stuff coming through, or like stuff?
all kinds of stuff. No. I mean, it was obviously out and connected to the internet and hauling stuff in. At least, the cops had it. I mean, I think Bunner did his extraction. The phone was given back to the family. I don't really know the chronology of it, but I'm telling you, there's stuff there's stuff going through October of 2017 in that phone.
Okay, then I guess my question is it from the physical phone itself, or is it from the iCloud?
Well, it's from the extraction on the phone.
Oh,
mean, it's all it's stuff on the phone.
Well, that's weird. So we did
And
get a.
I don't know if you're. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know if your chat wants to talk about it. I mean, Julie's in the. Julie was in the chat when I was coming in. I saw, but I think something really needs to be straightened out about all the people at the trial saying what was released as the exhibit of the BG video, which came straight out of the phone extraction, or at least what I was given as the phone extraction, was not what was represented at trial as the original video. I want to know what the hell that original video is. And look, even the Tweedles say it wasn't. I mean, there's nobody who said that what's been put up as the original video, BG video, is the original. At least was what was called the original at trial.
I'm pretty sure the Tweedles did come out and say that we're the only ones who reported that we did see and that this was the right video, but that was like after the fact.
No. When it came out, the first things they said was this wasn't it. It was what they saw was much more jittery, and that's kind of what everybody said, from Bob Mata to Andrea to. And look, they're the eyewitnesses. I wasn't there. I can only. I was told it was okay to. I was told it was okay to release the video, so I sent it to where it was going to get released, but it's what's on the phone, or it's at least what was given to me, and I have no reason to think this wasn't on the phone.
Right. Okay, so a two-part question. One, so on the extraction reports, then, is there anything prior to February of 2017?
Oh yeah, lots.
Because the phone is factory reset the weekend before.
The phone? No, it wasn't the weekend before. Well, the weekend before 13th. No, it was earlier than that. It was reset on the 4th.
Yeah, I meant like the weekend before all this, because this is I don't know. I consider it like a 3-day weekend because they had the day off. So the prior weekend, the beginning of February. So shouldn't everything on the phone not be there because it's factory reset?
No, I mean, I think that what happens is the stuff before that gets, so whatever was in the iCloud got then resynced.
Okay, so it comes back to the iCloud then.
I think. I mean, look, I've said in several places, I only play a phone expert in the movies, and nobody's nominating me for an Oscar.
Hold on real quick. I have a tiny human. Give me 1 second.
And I can't go into details yet because I'm really not sure of them. And maybe a real phone expert can sort of sort it all out for me. And but I've got real reasons to be suspicious of the phone data.
Well, I concur, and I've looked and I haven't found it, but in my memory bank, which is not always 100%, I'll be honest. But there's that Becky Patty on WebSleuth said that Libby's phone was factory reset and it was a rose gold iPhone. So like that whole thing about this coming out to being like a silver iPhone was totally news to me.
Yeah, it's slate gray. Becky Patty could have been wrong about just wrong about the rose gold part of it. I don't know. I don't know if there's a rose gold phone running around. What I would want to know is before the factory reset, did Libby have a different phone? And so, like, was that factory reset for her? And did they switch the SIM? So did the SIM card from her old phone go in the new phone, or did she have a new number?
Like a new phone number?
Yeah, because if this phone isn't hers and they don't swap the SIM cards, she's going to have whatever the phone number on this phone, the slate gray phone was. It won't be her phone number.
Well, I guess on the extraction, can you tell the difference before, like if it's being brought in from the iCloud versus what's actually on the phone?
I can't, because it's all just the accounts, not the numbers. And I mean, look, I got about 50 or 60 hours into the phone, and I've got a whole list of questions and not a whole lot of answers. And that's one of the things I got to track down. And there's some pretty wild discrepancies. So there are at least 3 different reports. So and I don't really know I understand that there were 2. Bunner's extraction was logical, and then later, I'm not sure when, Cecil did a physical extraction, which is more complete. And I know that the Bunner Cellbrite report is working on the Bunner data from 2017 from the logical extraction, but I don't know which of the later reports are being generated from the physical extraction.
Okay. V said Anna said Becky had called her from a new phone number she had never saw before, and that's why she didn't recognize who was calling her. I don't recall that myself, but that sounds accurate. Trying to think of, or look at, there was another question here I wanted to ask you. So, and back towards the beginning of this case, we were, social media detectives were under the impression that because Libby's phone was causing such issues for her, that Becky had given her one of her work phones, and that she wasn't actually out there with her phone that day. But then we see this Gryffindor case on it, so then I'm more curious about that as well.
Well, I mean, if the Gryffindor case is something she had, I mean, she could have put her own case on it. I don't know. It's I was I was visiting my son, and we had the same kind of phone. He'd gotten two covers for his phone. He decided he liked one more than the other, and he offered me one. Mine was shot, so I took it. I just slipped it on. But I mean, and if I got a new phone, or somebody lent me their phone, I'd probably take the cover off the phone I've got and put it on that phone. I don't know that the cover is. Look, there are people, you all know a great deal more about the facts, and don't Teresa. I mean, I don't think you really were, but don't minimize the importance of folks out there on the internet looking at stuff with their own eyes. I mean, somebody's come up with one thing that I find incredibly interesting is the little black boxy thing on the back of the car that's supposedly Rick Allen.
Oh yeah. I wonder if it's the same one. I'll have to find that photo for you. Where they talk about, they actually name it being a completely different car, and they match it up like detail to detail.
Well, so the whole detail to detail, whether it's a Subaru, actually a Subaru Impreza, is one thing. I mean, that's interesting, but and you'd need expert testimony about that. But the black box thing on the back of, so one of the photographs of the car that's supposed to be Rick's Escort, at the line between the rear hatchback window and the metal part below it, there's a black box sort of halfway onto the attached and sort of halfway onto the window and halfway onto the metal panel. And you have the picture in Rick's garage, and I thought, well, maybe that's a housing for a rear wiper or something. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But that's not on the back of Rick's car. You can see it right there. You can see. I mean, I've got somewhere in my ginormous OneNote file, I've got that circled in red.
This back part right here.
Yeah, right there. If you zoom in on that, you'll see.
Get really
well, yeah, but there's that black thing right above the license plate. It goes over. See that white spot on whatever. The version I have doesn't have that white spot on it. I don't know what that is, but
this is just the one. This is just the exhibit 243. I can go into one of the other ones. This is just a close up they cropped out of.
Yeah, well, the version I have doesn't have that white spot on it for some reason. But anyway,
probably better than mine.
No, well, but look, if it's an actual exhibit, they shouldn't be different.
Well, so yeah, but mine are taken. I have a lot of mine are taken from like the websites that are posting them. So
yeah.
it can change what's going on with it.
Yeah, I mean, if people have erased the white spot, then I'm kind of pissed because I thought I had, an unadulterated version, but there is a black boxy thing on the back there, and I'm working with some gearhead friends of mine. Yeah, if you zoom in, you'll see it, and then if you look at the picture of Rick's car in his garage, there's nothing there. He doesn't even have a rear windshield wiper.
Yeah, he doesn't. But they also don't even have the full car in there. Let me find.
Well, no, but there's another picture that has more of the back, a little bit more of the back on it than that one does. But in any case, you can see there it's just not there, and I mean that, that's a conclusive thing that a jury can see. You don't have to have the expert waving his hand saying, "Oh yes, well it's 2 centimeters here, and we know this is a Subaru Impreza," and
I'm showing it to my husband because he's my car guy.
Yeah, sure, I get it. But, see what I mean, though? That it's almost like a fanny pack for a car.
And BG has a fanny pack.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, it might take an expert, but to my eye, Bridge Guy's got a brown fanny pack on his right hip, and all of Ron Logan's ex-girlfriends say he always carried a gun in a brown friggin' fanny pack.
Right, we were talking about that when we were looking at the exhibit photos of the holster that Rick's gun was in, and how it's black. And everybody, like in his interview, when he says like he always had it like in a holster, like the internet went crazy about like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what that little thing is right there. That's his holster. And it's like, come to find out, come the exhibits photos, it's actually black. It's not brown anyway.
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is that Nick McClellan was successful in making a real silk purse out of what was truly a sow's ear.
I don't think I've ever heard that saying before, Michael. A real what?
Silk purse. You never heard the expression to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear?
No, I've never heard that. Break it down for me. I've never heard it.
Well, look it up. It'll show up all over the place. It's practically a cliche.
Okay, hold on. To be unable to turn something ugly or inferior into something attractive or of value.
Yeah, the expression is usually in the negative. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear.
You can't make something attractive out of something that's ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard it before. All right, let's see what else we got. Should we talk about Betsy Blair's car drawing? This is All Eyes' favorite.
Look, it's just how do you get your mind around it all? I mean, how?
I don't know, but I mean that doesn't. If I compare that to Rick's car, it definitely doesn't look like that.
No.
But it does look similar to the car that Brad Heath said that he saw there.
Absolutely.
Let me get some. I gotta get rid of some of these, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to open anymore.
And you know, how does the guy that Sarah Carbaugh says she saw not go past the Hoosier Harvest Store video? I mean, the questions. It's just wild. I mean, it's just.
Bring that back up.
But we're working on getting some serious photogrammetry done.
There you go. Okay, so let's talk about that, Michael. Like, where you know, there's so much all over the internet about you right now, as you know. Where are you at with everything? Because I haven't been able to keep up with all the things that are happening, but I have a pretty good idea just reading through certain things. But I'd rather hear it from you. Like, where is everything? What is, like, you wanted to do?
I have a bit more stuff than anybody else, but otherwise, I'm just one of you all. I'm just one of the crowd.
So we're not looking at a potential post-conviction relief for Rick at this point anymore, or is that something that's still on the table, or a possibility later on, or?
Well, it's always a possibility later on. It's not about so. You know, if you really want me to start talking, I mean, I can get a little bit geeky. Some mistakes were made last night about how what I was suggesting, this Davis petition saying the Davis-Hatton procedure is risky. What you do is you suspend the appeal and then go straight to the post-conviction case. And you know, at the beginning, I was thinking about that, but whether to suspend the appeal will be entirely up to the appellate lawyers. I'm all about getting the post-conviction investigation going. That is to say, looking at what's available and seeing who still needs to be talked to, what needs to be reinvestigated, what needs, you know, getting some experts on some stuff. I mean, look, I can tell everybody about one case I had out of Kokomo that, you know, what was it, 14 years after the original trial, we got rid of habeas corpus and it came back to state court for retrial. And a month after we'd won in federal court, a critical witness was killed in an automobile accident. And, you know, I think that played there were some other factors, but that played a significant role in the guy pleading guilty to something he had nothing to do with, just to get the hell out.
Because the witness had already passed away that was going to be able to exonerate him, so he just pleads guilty in order to get out at that point?
Yeah. And, you know, evidence doesn't get better. Look.
No, it doesn't. You know, it doesn't.
And memories don't get better. And the other thing is, I can say this, there's some number of people, and certainly more than we've heard from, there are people who know what happened, and they know and actually have probably admissible evidence about it. And they didn't come forward because they didn't think in a million years that Rick Allen was going to be convicted, so they could stay out of it. and some people are already starting to come forward. Can't talk about what they're saying, but
I want you to. But for clarification purposes, can you tell me why people would even, from my understanding, the appeal is going in one direction and the post-conviction relief would be going in another direction. Why would they have to anything?
Yeah, the post-conviction. So everybody talks about post-conviction relief. Let's separate it. And I tried to do this on Hellas Live, I think. Let's leave. Post-conviction is a technical term, but it's also just means after conviction, right? So I'm just talking about an after conviction investigation. In other words, there's 20 terabytes of stuff. There are other things we know now that isn't related to the discovery or the e-discovery that came later. Pursue everything that can be pursued. I'm particularly interested in pursuing things that will most immediately produce admissible evidence that will be useful either at a retrial or in an actual post-conviction case. And this whole thing of suspending the appeal to do the post-conviction case, nobody would do that. The appellate lawyers would not do that unless one of two things were the case. One, pretty conclusive evidence showed up solving the case. Or two, pretty conclusive evidence showed up showing that Rick was innocent. And I'm not talking about necessarily one piece of evidence, but at least, everything together. I can say that if the investigation isn't continued now, it won't be done. It won't be started again, probably for something like 4 years.
That's if it goes to like the public defender's office to do post conviction, correct?
Right. So I'm not going to bore everybody with the actual deadlines and the rules. Let me just say that sort of the most experienced post-conviction lawyer in the state, just eyeballing it, said Rick's case isn't going to be briefed. The appeal isn't going to be briefed till next year. I think that's pushing it a little. I think he could be right. I think it could be briefed in November. But if the Court of Appeals wants oral argument, that'll happen February, maybe the end of January. They'll take at least 6 weeks and probably a lot more to issue a decision. After that, whoever loses is going to the Indiana Supreme Court. I mean, we really are talking about the, sort of August 2026 until somewhere between August 2026 and the end of 2026 that the direct appeal's over. And if Rick wins, it may not be over then, because the state could, there are further things the state could do. If he filed his so let's just say it's over in August 2026. If he files a post-conviction petition the next day and asks for representation by the state PD's office, in the normal course of events, they have a 2-year backlog, so it would be August 2028 before anybody starts to look at his case. And somebody who starts to look at his case would have to get up to speed on it, right? I mean, that's going to take a while. So, so 2028, that's, 3 years and change from now anyway. I said 4 years. Maybe I exaggerated a little, but not by much. And, they're not going to get witnesses and all these things. And, within a month of getting the case. So, my attitude is that there are things that need to be pushed forward now. I have access to some resources, and so using what we got, I'm doing what I can.
So but for clarification purposes, if a post-conviction relief was pursued at this time, would there need to be a stay on the appeal? Or could they not both be working simultaneously to go in two different directions?
I've never seen it happen. You really have to suspend the appeal to file the post-conviction petition. I mean, if you were going to do the formal thing that way, and to actually get DNA testing of stuff in the state's possession, you'd actually have to have a post-conviction case. But there's also some other stuff that can be tested in the meantime that the state doesn't have. One thing you can do to get things going ahead of time is, you're kind of the expert on the DNA evidence. I would get all the DNA reports to a particular expert because, for instance, he found 2 minor profiles and some data that nobody had ever identified in 7 years of DNA testing. So you can also, even if you find nothing, you can tee stuff up for who comes next. You got to know, look, 3 and 4 years from now, are the investigators going to remember what they did? There are all kinds of things that should be done, both to push the investigation ahead and also to sort of preserve the record as it stands.
Okay, so I'm going to backtrack just a hot minute here. So I can't, I'm the defendant, I can't file my appeal and file a post-conviction. But if neither are filed, I can essentially be doing both at the same time. Because nothing's filed.
No. I mean, you only have so much time. So the notice of appeal is filed. I mean, you can't just dismiss it. The only thing you can do is ask the Court of Appeals, say, can we suspend this appeal while we go, back and do the post-conviction work? And I mean literally the litigation. And that's not something I'm going to be doing. I guarantee you. It's not going to be me. I mean, that's the other thing. Kara and I are just trying to keep the ball going, getting stuff done that we can get done, or that we could get done if we had more stuff, until some much bigger dog is found. I mean, there are a lot of big law firms that have pro bono operations. We've reached out to a few people here and there. We'll see. I mean, the idea that Kara and I on our own could handle a full-blown post-conviction investigation involving 20 terabytes of data in the discovery, plus, and plus, that's ridiculous. We're just, what I've used is we're the bridge to somebody bigger, better, with more capabilities than we have. And one of my former students, when she heard that, said, "Oh, you're the bridge guys."
Oh, geez. Okay.
So it's just, I mean, look, I've already found some pretty startling stuff. I mean, potentially game-changing things. It depends on what experts have to say. It depends on how it fits in with other evidence that I don't know about and I'm not being told about. So I am not the be-all and end-all of this.
So at this point, then, the appeal is what's moving forward, not the post-conviction, unless something arises from an investigation prior to that. Am I understanding that correctly? Is that?
Yeah. There is further investigation being done while the appeal creeps along.
Got it. Okay. And then if there's something, so you can't get access to things like the DNA unless a post-conviction is filed. Am I accurate on that?
Well, look, I mean, the state can always agree to testify.
You're so funny. They're not going to agree to anything.
And the problem is there's a statute for getting DNA testing and done, but the Indiana Supreme Court, contrary to the actual language of the statute, has said that when you file for DNA testing under the statute, that is a post-conviction petition. I don't know why they made that up, but since you only get one post-conviction petition, nobody's going to be filing to get DNA testing done using that statute.
Right. So then how does Richard Allen and anybody on any of his teams get access to testing this type of DNA? Is that something that can go through the court without it being listed under an appeal or a post-conviction? Like, hey, there is this DNA, we want it tested, but it's
probably not without the state's consent.
There's no judge that can actually just come in and say, hey, you're going to give this to them and have them test it.
No. Nope.
So the only way to do that is to file the post-conviction, because on the appeal, that's not going to be something that's being focused on, is retesting any of the evidence.
Right.
Or actually doing a download of the phone, because nobody's ever touched the phone outside of the state. So at this point, any attorney who comes on is only going to be able to look at things that are already the extraction reports that are literally from the state of Indiana, or anything along those lines, almost exactly like the experts that take the stand. They couldn't access any of the stuff themselves. They had to just use the reports that were handed to them to make determinations on it.
Yeah, and one of the things I'd want to know is, on Bob Mata's live, Stacey Eldridge, Rick Allen's forensic phone expert, said there was a lot more she could have said if she'd been asked. I mean, okay, what?
Is that when she said she didn't want to talk about it in case it was something that was necessary for later?
I don't know. I don't know if that's what she said or not. That escaped me. I mean, I know there's an attitude out there among some that, well, we can't do this stuff because we'll show our hand, and everybody's so convinced that Rick's convictions in a couple of years are going to be, year and a half, are going to be reversed on appeal, and I can speak for me. I'm not so optimistic. And
his appeal is going to be done in a year and a half?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was saying the appeal's probably going to be over probably August of next year.
But that it's going to be overturned, and that they don't think that the state is going to.
No, I'm saying I'm not so convinced his convictions are going to be reversed.
I'm not so convinced of that either. I mean, I don't know. The appellate attorneys seem to be very knowledgeable, so I have nothing bad to say about them. I don't. I just appeals in general, statistically, are not always. They're just not, most of the time they're not successful. I guess also with the post conviction, I mean, if you can get a hearing, you got a pretty damn good shot. But you can't go that route if you don't actually know what to use in the post conviction, because you can't get access to it because you have to file the post conviction first. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It would be nice if you could sort of move ahead at the same time, but it's just not the way it's set up. And, you know, it would be an interesting thing to try. But yeah, it's just not the way it works.
Post-punk mama, unfortunately, I know a very surface amount of it, so I don't know all of it, and I don't know really why anybody's stance is what it is, because I only know why my stance is what it is. And then so I don't know the depths of why everybody is. I know that everybody is pissed off at each other at this point, but I don't really understand why. I mean, I've heard about the contract that, you know, with Michael that somehow got out into the public from the other people. Don't even know where the hell that doesn't even make sense to me, why anybody needs to see that publicly. Like we say, we shouldn't be talking about these things on social media because we're going to show our hand, but then they go and show the hand that they're trying to say nobody should be seeing. So I'm very confused by it. It makes no sense. I have now seen the contract myself, and I don't see any issue with it. But I'm not the person who has to agree to it. So my opinion on it really is irrelevant, and I don't think it should be out on social media for anybody to be looking at, because it's really none of anybody's business. But that's my opinion. Now, when it comes to
people put it out there. People put it out there for the sole purpose of discrediting me and Kara, because they wanted to say we were badgering Kathy, we wouldn't make any changes, that I showed up at Kathy's house when she wouldn't sign it. I mean, just all kinds of just scandalous things that, you know, I was in it for the money, even though the thing says in about 3 different places, neither Kara or I would get a dime. Somebody said that, you know, I wanted to pet the leftover fundraiser money. That's the only reason it was put out there. And the contract was never the point. The contract, look, I said this, I was asked by Kathy to write something up, which I did. The whole idea was to put Kara and me in some sort of official position where people would be comfortable giving us the discovery so that we could just get the frigging investigation going. That's all it was. If they don't want to do that, that's fine. For whatever reason, people get to choose their advisors. They get to choose their friends. We had no dog in the fight in becoming post-conviction counsel unless that was going to get us more stuff to work on. And I don't need it all. I've got a list of things I want to see that might lead to another list. People don't want to share it with Karen and me. That's fine. People get to make their decisions. It's not, but you know, this thing came up last night about, oh, well, there was all this urgency. I can guarantee you nobody pushed or pressured Kathy Allen or Rick Allen or anybody else with any urgency. 16th of March, I sent this out. The 18th of March, I sent a follow-up text saying, you know, if there's a problem, let us know. Happy to change anything. Happy to help in any way that's useful. And literally did nothing since. And if that's badgering somebody, if that's, you know, pressuring somebody with urgency, I don't know.
Okay, so so Kara was a main contributor to the defense attorneys getting back on the case through the Indiana Supreme Court.
Yeah, and I kind of view myself as a main contributor to keeping him on there when the contempt thing came around.
I was just gonna go to that. So you, not only that with the contempt situation, but even after trial, of writing like motion to correct error or contributing to it in order to help preserve on the record some of the issues that were brought up that nobody seemed to be caring about. I guess I'm just trying to figure out over the 2.5 years of Rick being arrested and now tried and convicted, where the idea comes from. And I'm not saying this to kiss anybody's ass. I just truly don't understand it. But like I said earlier, I'm not in the bottom of all of the, I don't know all the details, but I cannot wrap my mind around how the two of you who've done nothing but contribute to the defense team and their ability to represent Rick all of a sudden have become like the pariahs trying to suck Rick dry of what I don't really know. I can't wrap my mind around where anybody went from A to B there. Like, where did that? I don't understand it, because you guys worked your asses off for nothing, just to help when the help was needed and necessary to keep things going the direction they were going. Why all of a sudden are people so mad at you?
They have their personal reason.
Is that so? It's coming down to the personal side of how people feel about you, and then creating a narrative around that, and getting specific creators to back that and use their platforms to continue it.
Yeah. Basically.
Okay, so that's, I think the craziest part of that to me is supposedly everybody's wanting the same thing, which is Rick to get out of prison, number one, and number two, the right people to be convicted. What's the issue with?
Look, I don't know, and it's up to those folks if they, I said something pretty controversial on Hellas Live, but I'm going to say it again. That I view the people wrapping themselves in their concern for Kathy and Rick Allen to be no different from the lynch mob who, for a couple of years, wrapped themselves in the patties.
Right. This isn't even like the pro-guilt people who are just like, who gives a shit about Rick, and he can just go to prison and do whatever Rick does. Like that's the crazy part to me. So I don't know. I don't get it. I appreciate everything you've done. I've read through the things that you've put out when it comes to the documents that you helped with, in the case, and with the contempt of the two attorneys and everything that Kara did. I mean, I don't know how anybody could actually think that either one of you would be involved for the badgering of Kathy, or the the fame of it all. Like, it makes no sense when none of those things were even weren't things that were necessarily attributed to you guys in a fame environment, if you will. I mean, yeah, there's like 800 of us on YouTube that watch it, but I'm talking like it wasn't picked up like mainstream media. Kara Winicky is the one who's filing these things. Michael Osbrook is, helping with the contempt. We were talking about it, but you're not getting fame off of it unless it's like there's, the 800 of us that are still. Yeah, it's just that's where I don't know. I guess I just can't understand it. If one of you guys in chat thinks that there's information that I am lacking to make that decision, by all means, you're welcome to message me or email me. But as of right now, I cannot understand what the detriment to Kathy or Rick would be to have two people that understand Indiana law way better than any of you do, understand post-conviction relief, understand the appellate process, and everything that comes to Indiana. Why you would say that you don't want those two people to be involved, or that they're in it for money, when they're literally saying they're doing it for fucking free, and they have been doing it for free.
Yeah, I guess I'll put a number on it for folks. Just given my usual rates, which I don't charge that many people. I mean, if a rich person comes along, I'll charge them what I call my usual rates. Most people charge for less, but let's just say usual rate. I've got about two, and I'm not talking about YouTube lives and tweets and stuff, but between phone calls and work on actual stuff, I've given away about $200,000 worth of work.
For how much?
For nothing.
Oh, zero.
For zero. I've given away about $200,000 of work, and I'm actually in the hole because I've bought some external hard drives to copy the discovery to for the defense, and also paid for a year of unlimited storage in the cloud for the discovery if they want to copy it there.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. The idea that and let's go to Rick's civil case. I mean, like badgering Kathy about the civil case. I haven't badgered Kathy about any civil case, and everybody's saying, "Oh, this case is worth tens of millions of dollars." And I'm like, well, I think it's worth a lot of money too. It's not something I'm really confident a case I'm confident to prosecute, but I can write a damn complaint, and keep looking. It's just like with the investigation of the criminal stuff. If they don't have civil rights lawyers who are going to come in and do this, and by the way, if the civil rights lawyers thought that this case was worth tens of millions of dollars, they'd be swarming all over it.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Is like nobody's wanting to take this on. Brad filed that tort claim just to make sure that it was, it was in, and then he took, massive heat for it from Goal, and then like nothing's happened. So this is something that you had talked about, and I think it may have been on Hella's Live, but I wanted to get clarification for my own brain. So a lot of people discussed that the deadline for him to file the civil suit is gone, but then you had mentioned something that maybe it's not gone. I don't really remember the words.
It's not gone. It's ticking away day by day. It's just about 2 years. So it was 2 years ago, a couple of weeks ago, that Rick started being psychotic, maybe a little earlier. And every day, basically. So if I filed something tomorrow, I probably couldn't use anything that happened today or earlier 2 years ago.
Okay. So
at least that's my take, and I welcome someone whose area is actually civil rights law 1983 actions to come in and tell me I am absolutely wrong. That is my best take on it.
Okay. So
I've done a little research, and so look, and again, it is to act as a bridge. I was looking for civil rights lawyers for Rick as early as last November. Former student of mine's at a small civil rights firm in Chicago, and she was all for taking it. She thought it was an amazing opportunity, but they had other work to do, and she couldn't overcome the resistance, and so they said no. And I talked to some other lawyers not that long ago about doing it. The idea that I could, just as the idea that Kara and I together could do a thorough post-conviction investigation in a case involving 20 terabytes of stuff is ridiculous. The idea that I could, on my own, I'm a solo practitioner. I have no staff. I mean, I'm my own paralegal. When I'm not being paralegal to my students, I'm my own paralegal. I have no secretary. The idea that I could handle federal discovery in a 1983 action is absurd. I could get something filed is what I could do.
So, okay, so was the thought that you were going to take on the civil case and be the civil attorney?
Just to get something filed, Teresa.
Oh, that's what but I'm just saying, like, was it construed that you were going to like be taking on and be like his civil attorney? I mean, I get what you're saying. Just
Oh
to get
yeah,
something
and make millions and millions of dollars. People were saying it was all about that.
But people do understand that if it was really worth millions and millions of dollars, people would. There's attorneys who would have taken it just for the percentage of that if they believed it to be true.
Well, and by the way, in 1983 actions under 42 USC 1988, you're entitled to reasonable attorney's fees and costs as well as whatever the recovery is.
Okay.
So you know, if the civil rights lawyers thought that this was such a big deal, I don't understand any of these people's reluctance. The evidence is already there. Brad Rosie did an amazing job creating it. I don't know why the civil rights lawyers don't seem to be interested now. You know, some people over there are saying, "Oh, it's all covered," and so, you know, I hope it is. I sure hope somebody's going to file something soon. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm all for the actual cavalry to arrive instead of, you know.
Okay, so when does it need to be filed by then in order to include Westville?
You know, you lose stuff every day. I mean, I haven't done the actual dates. I think there was like a June 20, maybe a June 12th date, for instance, where, you know, Martin was saying, "Oh yeah, Rick was in perfect shape," and you know, then there was the video of him completely zoned out in a chair.
Yeah. So 2 years from that date.
Well, you know, that could be the deadline. I don't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, say things are happening in, you know, let's say like a lot of it happens in 2024. Or I'm just putting dates out there, like April to September of 2024. This stuff happens. So, does he have until like April to, you know, November or October, whatever it is, of 2026? But he can't go back and do anything.
He was out of Westville. He was out of Westville in 2024.
No, I know. I was just saying dates to try to, it's like ask you the question of, so anything, 2 years, like anything that's happening now, he has 2 years? Is what I'm trying to ask. Like, is the 2 years like a rolling?
Anything that's for the stuff that's happening to him after his conviction?
Yeah.
That's a completely separate case under completely separate standards.
Okay. So I don't think I'm asking the right question. So I'm trying to figure out, like, is it a rolling 2 years based on the event?
Well, rolling in the sense. Look, there's some people who said, well, there's the continuing wrong doctrine or something. And, you know, I don't know exactly how it applies, but my take on this is you should not have, you file something and then sort it out. You don't wait and have to argue. Things that are difficult to argue to get you past the statute of limitations. There's just no reason to do it.
Okay. I think I understand.
And yes, for the stuff that's the way Rick's being treated, if there is a civil suit to be had, he's got, for his treatment at Westville and now at Pendleton, you know, he's got 2 years from the occurrence of whatever they're doing to him. So yeah, it's going to be 2 years from, you know, if they move him into general population tomorrow, he'll have 2 years from today.
Okay. So kind of a rolling 2 years, but depends on what the situation and what it is.
Yeah. I mean, you've got 2 years from the day they're doing unconstitutional things to you.
Okay.
And there's a real straightforward claim for his treatment in Westville as a pretrial detainee because a 1979 case of the U.S. Supreme Court says, and I mean it says it. This is practically a quote. It is a due process violation to treat pretrial detainees to keep pretrial detainees under conditions that equate to punishment.
Okay. I think I got it. So you guys in chat, yeah, please don't fight with each other. I don't know all the ins and outs of what the situation is, but I definitely don't want you guys fighting with each other. At all.
Oh, is there? Has my appearance caused a scrum in the chat?
Well, I think this situation. See, this all comes to the stuff that I have not paid enough attention to. Or I shouldn't even say enough because I really don't want to pay attention, but I probably should, so I can speak on it when somebody does say something. Because I don't know enough about it with the investigators and things along that line, or this other person from that's supposedly working with Kathy, like from another state. I don't know enough about that information to speak on it. But it seems that people in chat are like kind of arguing about that, and I'm not going to take sides. There's people in here that I like that are disagreeing with each other. I just don't want you guys fighting in my chat. If you guys want to fight, please.
Well, I can tell you, if it's the person that I think it is, who's from another state, yeah, I think it's great that Rick's getting attention. I think it's great that Rick has friends. It's great that people are taking care of Rick's needs in prison. I'm all for it. But this person is also in various places pretending that she knows all kinds of stuff about how these lawsuits should be filed, and every single thing she has said, I mean every single thing, has been absolutely wrong.
Ooh. That's not good. All right. Yeah. There's people like I don't want to deal with the drama part. And I get you guys. That's the part that I hate. I don't know.
And I didn't mean to get into it, but I just wanted to say that
I understand where you're coming from. I don't have enough info to have an opinion because I don't know all the stuff. So I feel bad because I can't wrap my mind around why anybody would be so upset with you and Kara for wanting to get involved in help when these people are also the people who say they want to be involved in help. So I'm trying to understand that line. But I'm kind of picking up what is being put down, not by you, but by just kind of in the general of chat, like in talking about this again, is it seems the same thing. It's like once people are, aligned with a quote unquote family member, and it's not everybody. And so it's not everybody that I'm talking about, but this happens. It happens in all the profile cases where people become attached to a family member, whether it be from the I say this because I was this. Okay. So I know that you want to be on the inside of it and you want to be like, I'm getting the information firsthand. But you're not always on the right side of things. So, and I say that with all kindness, no matter which one you are, but no matter whether it's the victim side, whether it's the defendant side, you're getting a biased opinion based on whatever side you're on. Number one, whether we agree with that side or not. And number two, you almost subconsciously become like a mouthpiece for a family that really are all grown people and can speak for themselves. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just think that people should really realize that nobody should speak for you, and you shouldn't speak for anybody else.
Look, I don't have any trouble. Look, if anything these people were saying was accurate, I wouldn't care. That's the problem. I don't know whether they're being given bad information or whether they're intentionally providing misinformation based on the information they actually have. But I mean, the stuff coming out is just not true.
See, and I don't know what's going on with Adrian in chat, but like Adrian's always been super kind to me. I don't know how involved. I don't know where any of this lands, and so like I'm having a really hard time because, like I said, I'm seeing people that like I've talked to that are. I don't know why you guys would be fighting with each other. So I think that's like I'm really struggling with that because I don't want to pick sides between people because I don't know what's wrong or why it's wrong.
You know, when people publicly accuse me, like the Tweedles, of plainly unethical behavior that I did not engage in at all. I mean, Kara and I have done what we have done absolutely by any book we know of. And we have not badgered anybody. We have not pressured anybody. Now it's, well, we've created social media to put the pressure on. No, we haven't. We didn't talk about this. It was somebody else who put the damn contract out. And before that came out, somebody was already starting about the badgering and not respecting, Kathy or Rick's wishes. And now it's, well, you've never met Rick and you don't know Kathy, and fine, I've never met Rick. I think I said this on Hell is Live. I don't need to know Rick to do what I'm doing.
No, you need to know the Constitution and what we actually care about when it comes to our rights as American citizens. It's kind of where I'm at.
Well,
it's kind of how I've always felt about it.
And it's just not true that anybody has said they don't want Kara's and my help. I mean, it just hasn't been said. And people have said, they've said they don't want your help. Go away. Nobody said that.
No, the spokespeople are saying that, from my understanding. But,
well, look, I don't know. Again, I'll go back. I don't know what they've been told.
Right.
I only know what I've been told. The spokespeople, so the people who are putting it out on social media, mostly YouTube community posts, have it as hearsay. I'm giving you first-person testimony that is not hearsay. I'm talking about what I know.
Which is why I directly asked you. I prefer that. I prefer just figuring it out from first person than trying to figure it out from 10 other people who may have talked to you at one point or another. So I thank you for talking to me about it. And I can't imagine the insanity behind this and how much you're dealing with on a daily basis. But I don't know if this helps or hurts. I don't know if it does anything.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. I mean, it is an intentional campaign, in my view. And I don't judge people's intentions easily, but it is an intentional campaign to hinder my ability to do useful work on Rick's case.
I just don't understand that. That's my whole problem, Michael, is I don't understand the people that are alleged to be doing this are supposedly the ones that are pushing for the same thing. Like for Rick to get post-conviction, for Rick to get an appeal, for people to figure out what, the investigation and what was wrong with
Well, this out-of-state person elsewhere was representing that, oh, well, lawyers with a national reputation are coming on. And, my response to that was, give me their names. I will give them the stuff I've got, and I will tell them what I know, and they can take the ball from here, and I will be happily done.
Right. So but it's getting everything in order to be able to be handed off to that bigger dog, like you called them earlier.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the issue with that is from anybody who thinks that. I can't wrap my mind around it. I don't get it. I don't know.
Well, there are two versions of it. One is, what I said before. I don't know Rick. I don't know Kathy. I don't, And the other is that people saying that Kara and I are unprofessional because of our social media presence. Look at the undisclosed lawyers. Bob Ruff. Bob Ruff on Truth and Justice. He's not a lawyer, but hell, he's busted open a few cases. I think that Rick's case benefits from publicity, and I'm happy to talk about whatever I can talk about publicly, which isn't everything.
Right.
And so then the other thing is it's and it's a Tweedle complaint, right? I put the white van video up on YouTube for clicks, and that was unprofessional. No, people do that all the time. It was a way to share. It was a way to put the exhibit up to make it available to the courts easily, and and to the public. And I think that. So the other thing is because of Kara's and my social media presence, I guess we're going to leak discovery. Well, yeah, I don't think so. And might have talked about it, but I haven't leaked any of it, and it really is kind of infuriating for people to keep talking about the BG video as a leak.
It's not a
no leak.
There's evidence in the trial. But
again, everything is characterized in a way to be disparaging to me, especially, and occasionally to Karen. It really is, always. And that's why I judged it, because it's all that. And most of it is false. Just the facts are false. So
okay.
It is what it is.
Bottom line is that for 8 years total, but since Rick's arrest for 2.5 years, me personally, I can only speak for myself, and most people I think that are following this case, we have begged for information and transparency.
Look, transparency is, anything that can be released. All the exhibits, I am all for transparency when it comes to exhibits. They're public records.
Right. Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I think the protective order is a fine thing. There is stuff in there that should never see the light of day. I've got files. If they got out, there would be people who would be killed around the country.
Yeah, transparency is now called leaks, which I just.
Well, and for people to publish the contract in the interests of transparency, that's just absurd.
I don't even know how to I don't even know how to wrap my mind around it.
and for people to say, I always tell you the truth, and tell lie after lie after lie.
The contract is private, though. But here's the thing, is that if there's 3 people who have the contract and 2 people don't give it to anybody and one does, does that one person understand what happened to it? I guess that's always my biggest question is like, does you know, if I have a contract and I send it to somebody for advice or to say, hey, like, you know, what do you think of this? I just want a second opinion. And somebody takes that information, contract, whatever you want to call it, and just puts it out to social media for funsies. I don't know why.
Oh, here was another slant, and that was that it was a take it or leave it deal that that when changes were suggested, which they never were, I refused. The contract as it was perfect, I said. And you know, when I sent it to the people I sent it to, yeah, we sent a signed PDF version, which if people thought it was fine as is, it could be signed. But I also sent the Word version saying, I'm sending the Word version too, so you can make any changes or additions you'd like. So, you know, people just make this stuff up, and they're only making it up one way. It's to make me, and mostly me, but to some extent Kara, look as bad as possible. And it's just none of it's. Look, I'm not a perfect human being. I do not. I hope I've made it clear. I don't have a savior complex. I don't think I'm the only person on the planet that can get Rick out of prison. But at the moment, I'm pretty much the only person willing to spend the time on actual investigation that might contribute, and I emphasize might. I'm not saying I'm going to find the silver bullet or the collection of bullets to put in a Gatling gun that will get Rick out of prison, but the investigation needs to be continued. And, you know, if somebody else wants to do it, give me a ring.
I don't know, Michael, it's such a headache.
Well, it's you know, I didn't make it a headache.
No, I understand that, but I just like, I mean, if anybody's wanting help, I just don't know why anybody would make it such a headache for the people who actually want to help.
Well, saying nasty things. You know, look, you know the internet, Teresa.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the amount of ugly things that people say. I don't know where people have the energy to say some of the stuff they said. Now it's true. On Sunday, I think it was, I got into a little Reddit war, and I'm not particularly proud of it. On the other hand, you know, I had to fight the misinformation that was being put out there as accurate. And so what these people are doing is they're trading supposed inside information for credibility. And you know, the people who say, well, I have the receipts for everything. Well, no, you don't. I've got the receipts for everything. I can't use them for various reasons, but I have the receipts for everything. And everything I have said is absolutely true, and most of what everybody else has said is absolutely false.
Okay. I'm trying to catch up on chat. I missed a whole bunch of stuff, so I don't know. My bottom line is, no. Don't you apologize for shit. Don't even think about it. Don't even. No, I like I said, I have my opinion. I don't know all the ins and outs of maybe some of the other like lower end stuff, but I'm telling you right now, like I don't you with or without you coming on the channel or not, like there's already a basis for the fact that you have put time, effort, your expertise, your knowledge into helping the defense team make sure that Rick was protected under with his constitutional rights as an American citizen. Like, that's the bottom line for me. Like, Kara, same thing, protecting, you going in with the contempt, protecting the attorneys to make sure that Rick was able to have the attorneys that he asked to have. I just, your track record, in my opinion, for me, and this can be, anybody else can have your own opinion, you guys have already gone above and beyond to try to do what you could in support of making sure the right things were done legally. I don't understand at this point why anybody is questioning that. If somebody has some major reason that they want to share with me, by all means. But at this point, I don't see there being an issue with you and Kara taking the legit steps to run a post-conviction case for Rick Allen in the hopes that a big dog comes in and takes it over and you guys have everything lined out and ready to go for that big dog. Like that, that's what I've asked for years. So I can't wrap my mind around why anybody would be so mad about that. So for me, that's the end of my opinion on it. It's the end of my discussion on it. I don't, like I said, unless there's some big to do that actually matters in the grand scheme of things for Rick Allen and not for anybody that's just the social media side of it, I don't care. Because we've all sat here for years and said what we want is for justice to be done for the two girls and the right person to be put behind bars and transparency from the state of Indiana who's hidden everything from us. You have people who want to give it to you and you're telling them no. Make that make sense to me, and maybe I'll have a conversation with you outside of that. Other than that, Michael, I appreciate everything you've done. Every time that you come on the channel, I learn so much. You answer every single question that I have when it comes to law or things that I understand and don't understand, or even when it's just specific to Indiana. So my final thought is, if that's an issue for people, they can fuck off. I don't know what else to say. That's where I'm at. So.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I get as I said on Bob Motta's live once. I do this stuff to win. This stuff is winnable, and I'm all about doing what's both possible and then necessary to get it won as soon as possible to get Rick out of friggin' prison. Because I know 100% he had nothing to do with this.
That's where I'm at. That's exactly where I'm at. So if it means doing post-conviction first before appeal, that's above my pay grade, and I am on board with whatever is going to get to the truth of the matter faster. So I support.
And I want to make it clear again, just so somebody doesn't come back. That will be up to that will depend on what the investigation turns up and whether the appellate lawyers, who are completely in control of the appeal, I have nothing to say about it, think that what's dug up is good enough, important enough, conclusive enough to make it worth suspending the direct appeal. That would take a lot. I know, and Stacey and Mark are terrific lawyers, but they've got to work with what they've got to work with, and they don't even have that yet. They don't have the transcript. The transcript won't be due. It isn't due now till the 9th of June, I don't think. But whether to suspend the appeal will be entirely their decision, and all I can do is what I can do to push the investigation forward.
Right. So keep doing that, because that's what we all said we want. That's what we all said we want. And I see Lynn's here, and I know Lynn thinks he's guilty. Lynn and we can agree to disagree on that and accept the fact that he was found guilty in a court of law. I think that it's clear that many have accepted that, but we're not done yet. It's not over, because there is still appeals and there still is post-conviction relief, and there are still people who have info that are going to end up sharing it because they're not going to want the wrong person to sit in prison. We could, like I said, we could.
I'm going to say, I have found stuff. I have found stuff that, if it means what I think it means, the state's entire case was bullshit.
Well, I can't trust a fucking thing that comes out of them. So just saying that they said or they did anything makes me go, wait a minute, somebody needs to double check that because they're not honest people.
I'm not gonna look when I can prove that they've been dishonest. I will be happy to say that. I whether they've been, for the moment, I'm just assuming the stuff I've seen folks missed. If they didn't, somebody who knows more than I do says that the plain English doesn't mean what the plain English says. That's, I'm willing to back down. But at the moment, I'm here to say I have found stuff that says the entire state's entire case is bullshit.
Right. And Miranda, I mean, same thing goes for Miranda and I have gotten along for a very long time, whether we agree on this one case or not agree on this case. It's the same concept. I get where you're coming from with people blaming Kelsey and the families. I do. I think that there's a difference, though, in the fact that law enforcement, and my issue is always going to go back to the law enforcement and the prosecutor side of this. Law enforcement did not do the proper investigation to clear people like Kelsey in order for the public to not be able to blame her. That's my struggle when it comes to like a Kelsey or anybody in the families, really, because they didn't. I mean, Kelsey's the last one to see them. They don't even bother to extract her phone. They take her DNA, according to her, 15 times. Nobody bothers to test it until we're in trial. So if I say something about Kelsey, I truly mean in the fact that law enforcement should have done what they needed to do in order to make it so there were no loose ends where nobody could question those things. So that's it. I have an issue with that. And by them not, so I mean, you're in agreement that law enforcement didn't do what they're supposed to do in order to clear people who were potential suspects or last proof of life even. They didn't do what they needed to do to find the truth. And that bottom line is what pisses me off about this case. I don't know. I don't.
Me too.
So that's why, like, up until the interrogations, I would consistently say I don't know the right answer because we haven't, even though what we've seen from either side, it's still not the truth of the matter. Like, we still don't. I mean, people may have accepted what the state presents. I don't trust the state of Indiana to say that what they did was right or procedurally correct in any which way. So I feel like if you accept what happened, you just say, yeah, all the bullshit that they did is okay. And I just don't think that's right. So I don't know. Did they prove that Rick Allen did it? To some of you guys, maybe they did. To me, I don't think they could prove anybody fucking did anything because I think they fucked up so much. And I'm just getting mad. I'm getting like frustrated with the situation again, which is why I try to I really don't cover a lot of Delphi anymore unless there's really something kind of happening. But I don't trust them. I've always said this comes down to trust. It comes down to trust. I do not trust Jerry Holman. I do not trust Nick McClelland. I do not trust Mullen. I do not trust Dan Doolin. I do not trust any of those people to say that whatever they could present to me would even be factual because they are, Michael might not say it, but I'm going to say it. They were caught lying on multiple occasions in order to get what they wanted, which was Rick convicted. They did not care whether he was the right guy or not. I've proven it over and over again by the fact that everything they did to convict Rick was to take the investigation after the fact and say, this fits Rick, this doesn't, don't use it. This fits Rick, this doesn't, don't use it. They did not investigate the crime and then find the perpetrator. They never did that. They didn't take the Hoosier Harvest Store video and say that right there is Rick Allen's car. And we know it because we know exactly what kind of car it is. And we went around and we looked to see how many of those cars are in a 500-mile radius. And there was only 2, and only one of them was at the bridge that day. They didn't do that. What they did was find Rick and then say, that could be Rick's car. Let's say it is. If people can't wrap their mind around the fact that they picked and chose evidence in order to support a narrative that they never actually investigated to get to that point, I can't help you see it. I can't.
I'm with you. Irving Goffman, really famous sociologist, long ago in a book called The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, said something that was pretty terrific, and that is that in order to lie, one must in principle know how to tell the truth. And there are a bunch of characters in this drama that make me wonder about whether they even know how to tell the truth.
That's where I'm at. So I can't believe that I can't believe that their truth is anything but bullshit. I don't really have anything else to say on it, Michael. I don't trust them. They're proven liars. So, anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap it up? I have been on for like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to hold you. Just thank you for the time, and I really didn't think we'd be getting into the.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I did title it Shenanigans and Bullshit, so it is okay. I was just talking more Delphi shenanigans and bullshit, but it is what it is. But I want to say Delphi as a whole is not a noun where the entire thing is happy, because that's not true. I have people from Delphi that message me consistently, at this point at least weekly, still telling me they do not believe that Rick is the guy, and that they're not happy living where they're living based on the fact that they worry about law enforcement. So I know that's not true. And when it comes to the family, I'm not sure what the family is. Is that the Patties? Because the Patties being happy isn't everybody. So I don't know what that means. But like I said, I know that my level of frustration is at an all-time high. So I know I need to end it before I start saying things that I don't actually want to say. Just because Delphi law enforcement and Nick in this whole charade of bullshit is bullshit. So, Michael, thank you for coming up, and thank you for talking about it so openly and sharing with me all the things I had questions on. Is very helpful. And Luke and Sleuthy and Kat and Fiend and everybody else who came up here, thank you.
It's a group, and it's going to take everybody.
So I'll be back in Delphi, or not in Delphi, but discussing Delphi on the channel when we get some more exhibits, or something else pops off. Because I mean, this is not a case that I think that needs to be lived in every day on social media, when most of what's happening shouldn't actually be happening on social media. So that's kind of where I live with it. I'll be back to Karen Reed on Friday when court is back in session.
Thanks, T. I'm out.
Right, Michael. Thank you. I appreciate you. And everybody in chat, whether you agree with me or not, like I said, I don't ever care. I just don't want people to be assholes. I just don't. And like I said, I'm gonna end up turning into the asshole that I don't want to be. So I know that it's time for me to wrap up my my Delphi live. Go back to a case that's actually, something's happening in it right now. I was going to do a live tomorrow for Karen Reed and do some old testimony. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I probably am not. That might be another reason I'm kind of on edge, is because my pup is not in a good place. He's doing pretty bad, and I'm probably going to end up having to take him to the vet tomorrow. This is if he doesn't eat anything by the end of tonight, this will be going on almost 72 hours where I can't get any food in him. So that's causing me some stress too. So forgive me. But yeah, so I'm not going to end up doing a Karen Reed live tomorrow. I'm going to end up taking him to the vet most likely if he makes it through the night. So that's where I'm going to be. And I know that I told you guys during the Karen Reed live that I was going to do something tomorrow. I'm not doing it. I'm going to take care of him instead. So Karen Reed is back on Friday, and I'll be back to do more Karen Reed on Friday. So thank you guys for your well wishes for my pup. Your puppy's at the doggy hospital right now. Yeah, this is the worst part about being a pet owner. I'll tell you. If you guys know, like he hasn't been well for a few months. I actually had taken him in thinking I was putting him down, and the vet said, no, let's try a few things. And so we did all those things, and he was kind of sticking with it. He was doing okay. He was not great, but he was doing okay. And the last few days, he's just taken a really bad turn. I don't know, like back to where he was when I had originally taken him in. And, you know, that's my baby. So we'll see what happens. Probably won't go as I want it to, but it is what it is. It's the worst part about being a pet owner. You guys know how I feel about my animals. But anyway, before I get all sappy, like I said, it's probably what's already stressing me out. I should have decided a different day for Delphi, but it is what it is. And, you know, I'm not trying to offend anybody with my opinions. It's because once again, it's just an opinion on a case that ultimately in the end, you know, it could have just been, it could be anybody. And I just want the right person in prison. I just want the right person in prison. And if that makes me a bad human, then so be it. Because I just don't feel like we're there. So I'm not trying to offend anybody with my opinion, but I'll keep you guys posted on my pup best I can. You always want to see him? No, he's sleeping. He doesn't look good. But anyway, he is 12. He's almost 13. He'd be 13 in June. Yeah. So we got him for my 16-year-old son, but he became my dog. We got him when my 16-year-old was 4. So, but, all right. Well, I love you guys. Once again, thank you guys for sticking it out. Ups and downs and real life and Delphi life and all the things. And I really appreciate you guys. All the super chats and the gifted memberships and all those things. I mean, I really just appreciate you guys. I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for you guys. I mean, I wouldn't even want to. I love talking to you guys. So I'm going to end it there before I get all sappy. Love you all. See you Friday. Have a good one. Bye.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown. Down the rabbit hole. Where it stops, no one